In 2030, Pei Qian stood in a spot that tons of people dreamed of. He became a rich and powerful businessman, the boss of Tengda Company. TV stations kept talking about him, praising him as the ultimate young success story, because just a few years ago, he was still living in a rundown rental room. But now he had pulled himself up, launched his very first game and instantly caused a huge craze in the market. Success is the finish line for most people, but for Pei Qian that spotlight brought a weird empty feeling. He even wondered if this was all just a dream. That dream started 8 years ago, back in 2022. Back then, Pei Qian got fired by Fuguwei Company. Feeling super depressed, he packed his stuff, left the place he used to work at, and quietly ate a meal at a street food stall. There, he ran into a poor little cat and thought about taking it home. Little did he know, someone from far away was secretly taking pictures of his every move. The guy behind all this was Sima, the chairman of Jinghong Group, who had had his eyes on Pei Qian for a while. The next morning, Pei Qian wandered from one company to another looking for a job, but kept getting rejected. When his future was looking super blurry, a black car suddenly pulled up right in front of him. Assistant Xian stepped out and said the chairman of Jinghong Group wanted to see him. Right after that, Pei Qian was taken straight to a private jet and met Sima for the first time. The chairman offered him to start a company with a super weird condition. If the project made a profit, Pei Qian would only get a base salary of 5,000. But if it lost money, however much it lost would become his bonus. Thinking this was completely crazy, Pei Qian immediately went to the cops. After checking things out, the police told him that everything Assistant Xian and Sima said was totally legit. They just saw it as a type of angel investing. As long as it wasn't illegal, it was fine. Once he knew it wasn't a scam, Pei Qian followed Assistant Xian back to that fancy jet. When he saw with his own eyes that Sima was pouring a massive amount of startup money into his hands, Pei Qian thought to himself that this job was way too easy. In his head, out of 10 projects, 9 would definitely lose money, and the last one would probably tank before it even started. A job this good was worth trying even without a base salary. Sima just smiled, thinking that sooner or later, he'd realize how important that base salary was. Reading the contract closely, Pei Qian couldn't help but wonder if this was just a weird hobby for rich people, or even a trap. But at that point, his resume was already ruined by Fuguwei. Big companies shut their doors on him. Taking a risk meant he'd have money for food with zero risk or penalty, so there was no reason to say no. After thinking it over, Pei Qian decided to make games. Hearing that, Sima wished him luck on losing his way to becoming a billionaire. Assistant Xian gave him the contract to sign, and let him know she would be transferred to his startup as his special assistant. His every move would be reported to Sima in real time. Pei Qian agreed and named the company Tengda. Pei Qian had a close buddy named Ma Yang, a fruit stand owner who daydreamed all day but hadn't achieved anything in years. In Pei Qian's eyes, he was the perfect guy to make the project fail. He went to Ma Yang and told him he quit his job at Fuguwei and had a plan to become a company boss. Ma Yang totally misunderstood, thinking he was a secret rich kid, and excitedly promised to stick with him through the startup journey. Pei Qian just laughed and told him to keep it a secret. Hearing about the massive startup funds, Ma Yang was mind-blown, even thinking he was about to be invited to be the board chairman or CEO. The next morning, Pei Qian took Ma Yang to meet Xiao Chui at the real estate agency to rent an office. Xiao Chui eagerly showed them a building where the previous company went bankrupt. The boss ran away, so all the office furniture was free to use. Hearing the word bankrupt, Pei Qian immediately decided to rent the place, making Xiao Chui so emotional that he rushed to prep the lease. Pei Qian told Assistant Xian that since they were a gaming company, every computer had to have top-tier graphics, and even the office plans had to be the most expensive ones. Assistant Xian right away got someone to handle the shopping. Then Pei Qian introduced Hailu to Ma Yang, stating she was his special assistant, while Ma Yang was an essential partner in this startup journey, teaming up to make Tengda fly high soon. When she found out Pei Qian planned to pay Ma Yang 50,000 a month, Assistant Xian immediately pushed back, saying he had no real job experience, bad grades, and the max he should get was 5,000. In the end, Pei Qian locked in Ma Yang's pay at 10,000 a month, and Assistant Xian agreed with the decision. Getting paid 10,000 a month, Ma Yang went all out buying books to level up his skills, determined not to let his buddy down. Feeling touched, he asked himself why Pei Qian treated him so well. Pei Qian just saw Ma Yang as a rare gift, a hard-to-find talent sent from heaven, which made Ma Yang appreciate him even more. From there, he remembered a legend from their old class, the guy who used to take everyone out to play games everywhere back in the day. The name Bao Su suddenly popped into Pei Qian's head. Right after, Pei Qian and Ma Yang went to the internet cafe to find Bao Su. This guy was a legend at the net cafe for years, a master who ate and slept with his PC, totally ruled an era for gaming college kids, and was an idol for otakus. After graduating, Bao Su never left the net cafe, having zero work experience. At first, Bao Su really wasn't interested in the game testing job offer, but when he heard he could pick his own salary and just chill playing games, he nodded yes without a second thought. After some prep time, Tengda's office was fully ready, spacious, full of modern tech and completely brand new. Pei Qian set up the workstations for his team super nicely, but kept the old stuff from the previous office for himself. Not long after, Tengda Company threw a big ribbon-cutting party to officially open for business. Shortly after that, Tengda released a game app called The Lonely Road. When Mr. Chow and his students stumbled upon this new game, they got curious and downloaded it to try. It was a racing game, but the coding was super clunky. The scenery on both sides of the road was so still it felt like an idle game. Surprisingly, the more they played, the more obvious it was that the game developer was just being a troll. Just racing normally, and boom, it turned into a total joke. The car had no brakes, forcing the player to just speed ahead helplessly. The frustration made the duo play it over and over, desperate to get a win. But no matter how many times they tried, they just kept losing. Refusing to quit, the teacher even stayed up all night playing, chugging Red Bull to keep going. Even when he had dark circles like a panda, he still couldn't beat it. Finally, the game coldly popped up a message, congratulating the player on successfully wasting 8 precious hours of their life. That moment drove them absolutely nuts, making them so mad they smashed their keyboards, just not understanding who could make such a jerk move of a game. In his dream, Pei Qian went back to his hometown, bragging to his parents with a cocky face that he just threw a project together and surprisingly made a ton of money. Hearing that, his parents were beyond thrilled. Right after, he called Ma Yang to announce that Tengda had gone bankrupt, promising to send him 10 times his severance pay. As soon as he said that, he laughed his head off in joy. Seeing their son so happy, his parents laughed along. Who knew it was all just a sweet dream in Pei Qian's head? When he woke up, he caught Ma Yang hardcore gaming on the lonely road, complaining out loud that it was all Mr. Yen's fault. Turns out yesterday Mr. Yen posted a video trashing the game, but unexpectedly it blew up. That video got over 520,000 likes, making Pei Qian feel like this was completely unbelievable. Meanwhile, Ma Yang angrily went online to look up which company made such a terrible game. When he found out it was Tengda, he froze, totally shocked that Pei Qian was the guy behind it. The truth was, earlier Pei Qian just randomly picked a scrap project to upload to the platform, hoping to make the company lose money fast. But ironically, the lonely road didn't bankrupt Tengda. Instead, the downloads skyrocketed day by day. The game became a huge topic for tons of internet influencers, and the more they talked about it, the hotter it got. Along with that came a massive wave of cash pouring into Tengda, throwing Pei Qian into a total panic. The game was clearly free, yet the profits were crazy high. Pei Qian wanted to pull the game down immediately, but Assistant Xian reminded him of the contract terms. He couldn't take down a profitable product for no reason, and couldn't intentionally pull a released game. Plus, Sima was really looking forward to him using these profits to fund the next project, promising even bigger surprises down the road. Pei Qian had to face reality, telling himself he had to find a way to turn a profit into a loss next time no matter what. Right after, he decided to split the profits with Ma Yang and Bao Su, and also suggested hiring more people for the new project. Assistant Xian gave the green light to all of it. This made Bao Su and Ma Yang's jaws drop, unable to believe that they just joined the company and it felt like money was falling from the sky. They barely did anything and still cashed in. Coming back to the office and seeing Pei Qian hire twin sisters Wu Xi and Wu Shang who used to sell clothes to work as receptionists, with high pay and full benefits, Assistant Xian could only sigh in frustration. Even though she didn't agree, she couldn't change Pei Qian's mind once he put his foot down. A few days later, crowds of applicants showed up looking for jobs because rumors said Tengda paid great money for super easy work. After a round of interviews, when he saw Zibo, a guy who had worked for 8 years with 0 promotions and even got fired, Pei Qian hired him on the spot. From then on, the more useless an applicant looked to other recruiters, the faster he'd nod and say yes. Watching this play out, Assistant Xian was left completely speechless. That night, Ma Yang checked the backgrounds of the new hires and realized they were all people nobody thought highly of, pretty much unable to do anything. When he asked why, Pei Qian claimed they were all hidden talents crushed by other companies. According to him, running a business wasn't just about making money, but also about guiding lost youth, creating a fair and transparent playing field so those who were frustrated and stuck could have a chance to shine and contribute. Hearing that, Ma Yang totally agreed, praising Pei Qian as a guy with morals and a vision that went way beyond this universe. The next morning, all the new employees gathered in the office waiting for Pei Qian. Meanwhile, Ming Liang gossiped with Zibo that Boss Pei only hired housewives, coders, and clothes sellers. Some were colorblind, some had weak color vision, yet everyone got crazy high salaries. Ming Liang was totally convinced that Pei Qian was a rich kid who had no idea what hardship was, and that Tengda would collapse sooner or later. Hearing that, Zibo got super worried because he had to work really hard to land this job. When Pei Qian showed up, he immediately laid out a bunch of rules for the new employees. First, every week, employees had to use the company's gym and entertainment room for at least 4 hours. Second, on the first workday after the weekend, everyone could freely decide what time to come to the office. Third, overtime was strictly banned in any form, no matter what, and Tengda applied a continuous time-off policy. The rest of the rules were put together in an employee handbook and sent to their personal emails. Since it was Friday, he didn't assign any tasks, letting everyone head over to the entertainment area across the hall to chill and find inspiration for the project. The next day, Pei Qian secretly kept an eye on how they worked. When it was time to clock out, Ming Liang left right on the dot, which Pei Qian specially praised and used as a role model for the whole staff. Meanwhile, because Zibo couldn't beat the lonely road, he frantically promised to work overtime to clear the game. Pei Qian immediately figured he had picked up bad habits from his old company, stressing that Tengda strictly forbid overtime, and then demanded all employees get off work right away. Everyone quickly left the office except for Zibo, who was anxious and uneasy, feeling like he was probably about to get fired while the company was on the verge of going under. The morning after that, Pei Qian asked Ma Yang what exactly made the Lonely Road so successful. Ma Yang thought players had a rebellious mindset and liked to torture themselves, so he suggested developing a sequel. But Pei Qian came up with a different idea, making a card game that didn't require any pay-to-win mechanics, where everyone got a free lifetime membership. The max top-up would be just $10, and everyday players would get 100 free consecutive draws. His only goal was to make the company lose a ton of money. Right away, he handed this project over to Ma Yang to directly research and develop. Ma Yang excitedly accepted, determined to prove that his vice president position wasn't just a fluke. He even promised to create totally unique, one-of-a-kind game characters. Hearing that, Pei Qian didn't hesitate to praise Ma Yang as an absolute genius. And that weird game was named Divine General Contract. The next morning, Guangjin came to Tungda Company to apply for a game character artist position. Just glancing at his resume and drawings, Pei Qian immediately picked Guangjin, and even promised to pay him 3 times what he made at his old job. Not only that, but he also approved his drawings right on the first try. No matter how Guangjin drew, that decision left Guangjin so stunned he just stood there frozen. Right after, Assistant Xian came looking for Pei Qian to ask why the company had to pay for tiny things like changing light bulbs or screws, suspecting he was intentionally trying to find loopholes in the rules. Pei Qian just casually said that his monthly salary was only $5,000, and after paying rent, there was barely anything left. Right then, Ma Yang sent over the concept art for the Divine General Contract project for Pei Qian to check out. With just one glance, he noticed the artist had done a super sloppy job. But exactly because of that, he quickly nodded and locked it in on the spot. He didn't stop there. Pei Qian also came up with the idea of taking the staff on a trip to Europe. Assistant Xian immediately objected because this went against company policy. Pei Qian quickly switched gears, saying if they couldn't go out of the country, then doing a domestic tour would definitely be fine, using the excuse of studying and professional networking. Faced with that logic, Assistant Xian could only sigh helplessly. So, Pei Qian took his employees all over the place for tours, making everyone dead tired. Over at Tianhua, Chen Zhuo reported to Boss Zhou that a company named Tungda wanted to pay a fee to come for a visit. Boss Zhou was pretty surprised hearing that, thinking that touring big companies was usually just like a student field trip, yet they were dragging themselves all the way to Xinjiang and even spending money on it. In the end, he put Lin Wan in charge of hosting them just to keep her busy. The next morning, Wu Shi told Pei Qian that the Tianhua tour still had a few extra activities to sort out, and suggested letting Lin Wan tag along. Pei Qian agreed right away, even though Lin Wan seemed hesitant because she thought this was an internal Tungda event, and she shouldn't join. Wu Shi reassured her, considering her mission accomplished. When they arrived at the resort, all the employees were blown away by how fancy and beautiful the place was. Having never been to such expensive spots before, everyone was super hyped. Pei Qian even announced that everyone could just eat and play as much as they wanted, and the company would cover all the bills. Right when the vibe was at its peak, Assistant Xian reported that the license for Divine General Contract had been approved, and it would officially launch on the 29th of the month. Hearing that, Zibo got worried and wanted to head back immediately to make edits in time for release day. But Pei Qian argued that the game was launching early exactly because it was already perfect, and besides, everyone was out here to learn right now, so they shouldn't be thinking about work. Even so, Zibo still couldn't relax, making an excuse that he was sick so he could go back and tweak the game, dead set on working overtime so he wouldn't let down the salary he was getting. Seeing that, Bao Su followed his lead, asking to stay at the hotel to rest, and then teamed up with Zibo to work overtime and finish the game. While everyone else was having a blast outside, Lin Wan sat in a corner watching, constantly smiling as she noticed the friendly and close-knit vibe among the Tungda co-workers. Ming Liang kept dozing off because he had previously pulled an all-nighter working overtime with Zibo, and Bao Su to write code to meet the deadline. Assistant Xian reminded Pei Qian that he was the one who told Wu Shi and Wu Shang to set up the schedule, and surprisingly, they picked Tianhua. In the notebook he once used to secure his job at Fuhui, he had trashed Tianhua quite a few times. Would he get recognized or not? Pei Qian acted completely chill about it, figuring that people at the top would never look down, so nobody would definitely recognize him. That night, a late-night party was thrown, and Pei Qian announced that Tungda would pick up the entire tab, telling everyone to just go all out and have fun. The atmosphere instantly got wild. Right when everyone was partying hard, Zibo texted to let him know that Divine General Contract was ready to launch, asking if he wanted to take a look. Pei Qian couldn't even be bothered to look and immediately gave the green light for release. Amidst the cheering and empty glasses, Zibo, Ming Liang and Bao Su, with messy hair and dark panda circles under their eyes, finally closed their laptops as the project was complete. At the exact same time, fireworks lit up the sky, making the party vibe even more hyped. The next day, Pei Qian took his staff to tour Tianhua Company. The person in charge was Lin Wan. Boss Zhou shook Pei Qian's hand, mentioning he heard he used to work at Fuhui. Even though Tianhua was under Fuhui, even he couldn't remember everyone at the main headquarters. Pei Qian said that was completely normal since Boss Zhou had a million things to do. After that, Boss Zhou left, letting Chen Zhuo lead the tour. Chen Zhuo showed them around, starting with the planning department, which was seen as the brain of the company, and then the art team where they created standout game characters. During the tour, Ming Liang whispered to Zibo that the computers here weren't even as good as the ones at their own company. Chanjua kept bragging about employee benefits, but Ma Yang realized that Tianhua was super cheap. The benefits were basically zero, the seats were cramped, and even sneaking a bite of food would get you scolded. After that, Dongli from Tianhua Studio stood up to talk about the appeal and challenges of the gaming industry. Hearing all those empty words, Pei Qian felt a headache coming on, thinking to himself that as long as Divine General Contract lost a ton of money, he'd have cash to go home and get a massage for his aching back. Listening to the speech, Zibo whispered to Bao Su that Boss Pei had never used such flashy words, making him respect him even more in his heart. Seeing Lin Wan taking notes so seriously, Pei Qian showed her his doodle of Ma Yang dozing off. Lin Wan cracked up and showed him her notebook. Turns out she wasn't taking notes either, but drawing Chanjua with a super grumpy face. When Dongli finished his presentation to a round of applause, Chanjua stood up to brag that all the top games on the charts right now belong to Tianhua. Right at that moment, the download numbers for Divine General Contract suddenly skyrocketed at an insane speed. That sight made Pei Qian freeze on the spot, totally unable to believe that a game he considered pure trash was growing so massively. Seeing Pei Qian looking like he was about to cry, Assistant Exine didn't even get a chance to comfort him before the whole office blew up in cheers. All the employees were hyped out of their minds, unable to hide their joy. Only Pei Qian stood there frozen, so dizzy that his temples hurt. Once could be considered luck, but twice in a row made him wonder if he was dreaming or just getting trolled by God. Too shocked, Pei Qian ran away from the scene, ignoring the fact that Divine General Contract was climbing straight to the #1 spot for the most loved game. He totally didn't understand why that game could get so famous. That is, until he accidentally scrolled through TikTok and saw tons of TikTokers constantly praising it. They hyped it up as the most sincere card game they had ever played. That massive wave of positive reviews was exactly what made its popularity shoot through the roof. Realizing that, Pei Qian stood there looking soulless. He couldn't believe this was real, because he clearly sent the whole company on a team-building trip, and the project was rushed, seemingly just thrown together to get it over with. Yet a messy product like that was getting endless praise. Zibo explained that even though time was super tight, every little detail in the game was carefully polished before launch. When he found out his staff even secretly worked overtime, Pei Qian was pissed to the max. But Zibo and Ma Yang excitedly suggested popping champagne to celebrate the win, leaving him completely speechless. Over at Tianhua, Dongli and Chanjua were also playing Divine General Contract together to test their luck. After playing for a bit, Dongli unexpectedly pulled a super rare card and won, forcing Chanjua, who was a sore loser, to accept defeat. The whole company clapped and cheered, but right at that moment, Boss Zhou showed up looking furious and forced everyone to get back to work. Outside, Lin Wan caught Pei Qian sitting there crying his eyes out. She thought that to make a game like that, he had to be a super thoughtful guy, but nobody understood the sadness in Pei Qian's heart. He only wanted the company to go bankrupt so he could get the cash, but who would have guessed it would become a massive success time and time again. Lin Wan kept asking questions and slowly realized Pei Qian was a boss who cared deeply about his employees. Even though she only hung out with them for a few days, working with him and this team taught her a lot. When Lin Wan walked away, Pei Qian cried even harder. That night, the Tongda staff threw a party, endlessly praising the place as their dream company. Compared to their old jobs where they got exploited, they felt super lucky. In everyone's eyes, Pei Qian was way too good of a boss, and everybody hoped to stick with the company until they grew old. Ironically, even though he was the boss, Pei Qian's salary was the lowest. The game's success only benefited the staff, while he just held on to a measly $5,000, not knowing when he'd ever make his parents proud. Surprisingly, even Boss Zhou tested his luck on Divine General Contract. Right then, Lin Wan walked in to hand in her resignation letter so she could apply to Tongda. Boss Zhou argued that Tongda had only made 2 successful games, and was still a startup with an unpredictable future. Plus, with Lin Wan's background, she didn't need to take a risk like that. But she made up her mind, said goodbye to Boss Zhou, and left. The next morning, Tongda employees found out the company had handed out paychecks, and everyone was thrilled because the pay was higher than they expected. Assistant Xian announced that Pei Qian would pay them fully for their overtime. Anyone who joined the team-building trip got a bonus. Zibo and Bao Su got even more cash because they worked so much overtime. The profits from Divine General Contract kept going up every day, making Pei Qian even sadder. Right then, Assistant Xian dropped the news that Lin Wan had arrived in Jinxian and wanted to join Tongda as a planner, even offering to work for free. Pei Qian immediately started scheming in his head. A rich girl with plenty of money and zero experience, wasn't she the perfect talent to make the company lose money? He right away ordered Assistant Xian to hire Lin Wan with a salary 6 times higher than his own, making the assistant just laugh and shake her head. That night, everyone got together to celebrate Lin Wan joining Tongda. When asked why she left Tianhua, she just said their views didn't match and she wanted to get out there and experience more. After that, Lin Wan raised a glass to toast Pei Qian, showing her determination to work really hard and promising not to let him down. Pei Qian just told Lin Wan to be herself and not force herself to try too hard. Later, while everyone grouped up to play games, Lin Wan noticed Pei Qian sitting quietly by himself, looking deep in thought, totally different from the party vibe around him. Bao Su explained that Boss Pei was always sharp-minded, used to hiding his feelings, and constantly thinking about how to keep the company profitable no matter what the situation was. While everyone was having fun, he was quietly planning Tingda's future. Hearing that, Lin Wan couldn't help but feel that Pei Qian looked really lonely, like he was carrying way too much responsibility all by himself. Only thing is, nobody knew that in Pei Qian's head right then. He was painfully trying to figure out how to make the company lose as much money as possible. Right after, he immediately took the whole staff out for karaoke, intentionally blowing a ton of money. The next morning, Pei Qian gathered everyone and announced a new direction. He decided that from now on they make games based on big data, whatever the market like, they make it. He asked everyone to put together a list of the hottest games from the last 2 years, telling them not to rush, just study the rivals closely, learn how they operate, and later they understand his real intentions. Hearing that plan, Lin Wan secretly realized this style was a lot like Mayan over at Tianhua, a guy who always chased trends without caring about the back end. She couldn't help but wonder why Pei Qian, having just left Tianhua, would absorb that kind of garbage mindset. Zibo figured that Boss Pei had made it clear they understand in the future, so they just needed to follow orders. Over at Tianhua, Dongli stayed up day and night without sleep to code the Bullet Mark game project, but Chunjua shamelessly took all the credit, confidently claiming the game would totally blow up when it launched. Hearing that, Boss Zhou immediately gave the green light for the staff to operate 24 hours a day. At the same time over at Tengda, Zibo reported to Pei Qian that after a week of analyzing major charts, the hottest game genre right now was shooting games, and asked if they should put one into production. Pei Qian immediately agreed and even came up with a new name for the project on the spot: Desert Island Gun King. Even though the name sounded a bit cheesy, Zibo still endlessly praised his boss's naming skills. He also brought up that Tianhua was investing heavily into Bullet Mark, which had a similar setting, so if Tingda made this game at the same time, it'd be like going head-to-head with them. That made Pei Qian even more hyped, deciding not to dodge the competition, and even demanding that Desert Island Gun King be released on the exact same day as Bullet Mark. He announced he'd spend big to make a PC client game. When Zibo got worried about the tight schedule, Pei Qian just stressed that it didn't need to be perfect, it just needed to get done. He also remembered how Zibo used to sacrifice his personal time for the company, so he told him from now on, just get off work on time and remember to collect his full overtime pay. Those words made Zibo super emotional, and he immediately went back to work. After that, Zibo passed the word to the whole staff that the plan was approved. The game, officially named Desert Island Gun King, had to launch on the same day as Tianhua's Bullet Mark, but absolutely no overtime was allowed. Even though everyone thought the timeline was tough, Boss Pei still asked them to break out of their old mindset and value getting it done over making it perfect. Ma Yang simply thought that since the boss said so, they should just follow along. So the whole team quickly got back to their desks. The next morning, seeing that his employees weren't working overtime at all, and were just chilling and having fun, Pei Qian felt unspeakably happy inside. On the flip side, over at Tianhua, Boss Zhou was secretly thrilled seeing his staff working their butts off all night. Pei Qian just sat there watching the clock, and the second it was time, he immediately demanded everyone get off work, strictly forbidding them from staying late. Meanwhile, Tianhua's employees had to work late into the night, totally exhausted from getting ruthlessly exploited. Dongli worked so much overtime that he was on the verge of a mental breakdown, looking super pale, while the others kept complaining that if this kept up, they'd burn out sooner or later. After many days of working regular hours at Tengda, Zibo's team finally finished Desert Island Gun King. Pei Qian tested it out himself, played for a bit, and judged it as a good game in a super mediocre way. Zibo suggested inviting a bunch of gaming bloggers to promote it, but Pei Qian thought they only needed Blogger Yen since he pulled huge views before, and also made a positive video. Zibo agreed and went to invite him for a collab. He met up with Blogger Yen, thanked him for caring about Tengda games, and on behalf of Boss Pei, invited him to collaborate by introducing their upcoming game, Desert Island Gun King. He hoped the blogger would make an intro video. Blogger Yen said he made videos out of pure passion. If his previous videos caused any negative impact, he sincerely apologized. But the promo content this time made him feel insulted. Zibo quickly reassured him that Boss Pei was completely sincere. When he saw the 300,000 bucks payout, Blogger Yen agreed right away. On that exact day, Bullet Mark officially launched an FPS game with a special setting, aiming to beat 99% of games in the same genre. Its massive ad campaign made it the most talked about game of the day. Some people figured Tengda chose to launch on the same day, just to piggyback off the hype of Bullet Mark. But looking at the downloads and reviews, Desert Island Gun King was facing a really worrying outcome. Zibo got even more anxious because Pei Qian only hired Blogger Yen, while the rest were beauty creators and food reviewers, and he even paid Blogger Yen a crazy high ad fee. The promo script Boss Pei wrote was so cringy that Blogger Yen got slammed by the internet so hard he had to back out. Right after that, Lin Wan checked online and saw players complaining that the game froze every time they shot. Bao Su tested it and also found out that it lagged out whenever a gunfight started. Ming Liang was super confused because the game was tested beforehand, so he had no idea where the problem came from. Seeing Pei Qian walk over, everyone immediately reported that the game had gotten tons of negative reviews and failed hard against Bullet Mark. Hearing that, he was secretly thrilled but tried to look depressed, quietly walking into his office, which left the whole staff anxious and uneasy. A little later, Pei Qian stepped out and announced he had told assistant Xian to book a restaurant to treat everyone since they had worked so hard lately. The whole room was instantly stunned, not understanding why the company would throw a party right after taking a huge loss. Everyone worried the boss was losing his mind. In contrast to the heavy vibe from taking all the criticism, Tungda's employees couldn't even swallow their food, while Pei Qian was the only one happily enjoying his steak. Thinking the boss was mentally affected, Zibo stepped up to take full responsibility, even suspecting that some saboteur made the game glitch. And that saboteur was actually Pei Qian, the guy who hired someone to mess up Desert Island Gun King. Right after, Pei Qian stood in front of the team, took the blame for forcing everyone to finish a big project in such a short time, letting down the team's hopes and hard work, and then bowed to apologize super formally. Everyone was confused and heartbroken, but when he announced that the project bonus would still be paid out in full like always, everyone was completely blown away, seeing him as the nicest boss in the world. The next morning, Zibo checked the game again and saw it was still lagging. He got annoyed seeing that Bao Su had switched to playing a puzzle game, so he begged Ming Liang not to give up on Desert Island Gun King. Zibo looked into the office, feeling that the boss must be super heartbroken and lonely. But in reality, inside, Pei Qian was laughing in delight because to him, losing money was the real stepping stone to success. Standing outside, Zibo told everyone that Boss Pei was a truly strong guy. Even though Desert Island Gun King failed, he didn't blame any employee and carried the whole burden by himself. Hearing that, Ming Liang said this was the only guy he had ever seen who knew how to apologize to his staff. Zibo then stressed that this was exactly why everyone had to try even harder, so they wouldn't let the boss down. Lin Wan was worried, thinking it was too hard this time. Even if they fixed the game, downloads would barely go up. After thinking for a bit, Zibo came up with a new idea. Once everyone heard it, they thought it could work, so they immediately got to work to save the game. Since Pei Qian didn't allow overtime, Lin Wan took Bao Su's group to her house to work. Seeing her super rich-looking house, everyone was shocked, not understanding why someone so rich would still work overtime. While the employees were grinding hard, Pei Qian was casually going house hunting, waiting for the company to lose money so he could afford a house. In his dream, he saw himself having enough cash to buy an apartment at Mingri Gardens and was crazy happy. A month later, walking into the company and seeing his employees looking drained, Pei Qian thought to himself that at first, he just wanted to find a bunch of scrubs to make the company lose money. He never expected them to be this serious. If the company lost money, all their hard work would go down the drain, but the responsibility would still fall on him. That was an irreconcilable conflict between him and Tingda. He put his hands together, apologized to everyone, and promised to make it up to them later. Right at that moment, fireworks shot up. The staff cheered, announcing that Desert Island Gun King had flipped the stats and completely surpassed Bullet Mark. This news hit Pei Qian like a lightning bolt. He stood dead silent, breathing heavily, not understanding what his staff did to make the game so successful. Even though he never wanted it, they still secretly worked overtime and made the game pull off an epic comeback. Amidst the cheers celebrating everyone's success, only Pei Qian was drowning in misery, because that meant his dream of buying a house was slipping even further out of reach. He used to think his employees were just a bunch of losers, never expecting them to be smarter than he planned. Desert Island Gun King quickly climbed to the hottest game spot on the charts. Downloads skyrocketed and players were hyped because of how fresh it was. It wasn't just shooting. There were also minigames that made the experience super fun. Back at the office while checking the game, Pei Qian wondered why there was a matching puzzle mode in the game. Lin Wan explained that it was Zibo's idea, and they never expected players to love it so much. Even blogger Yen reversed his review, pushing his video to the top 3 of the Guichu meme charts. Zibo thought it was Boss Pei who dropped the most important hint to break out of their old mindset. What mattered wasn't he being perfect but getting it done. Pei Qian angrily asked why they didn't tell him beforehand. Zibo replied that when the game had issues, the employees had to give it their all to find a fix, and they couldn't let the boss stress over it. Hearing that, Pei Qian was left speechless and quietly went back to his office feeling super heavy. Outside, everyone thought he was just happy but too humble to show it, raising their glasses to toast the victory. Seeing 3 games succeed in a row, Sima praised Pei Qian for having a real talent for business. That compliment annoyed him so much he just wanted to scratch his face, bluntly declaring that he didn't care what the other guy was scheming, and would cancel the contract himself. Sima looked disappointed, saying he was just discussing with Hailu about bumping the ratio of Tengda's losses tied to his personal bonus from 1 part to 2 parts. If making games wasn't working out, he could try a different field. Hearing that, Pei Qian got even more confused, wondering why the guy wouldn't just be happy if the company made a profit. Why keep forcing him to make it lose money? Was he hatching some huge conspiracy? Sima just replied, "Everything is completely legal, don't worry." Seeing the chance, Pei Qian immediately decided to switch to another industry to take a massive loss. Over on the other side, Boss Zhou was super salty when Desert Island Gun King beat Bullet Mark. He didn't understand what kind of scary background Pei Qian actually had. Right after that, Boss Zhou called Li Shi, the chairman of Fuhui Group, also the only son of Li Fuhui, complaining that Tengda was bullying Tianhua's game in every way possible. Li Shi told him not to rush. Since his dad invested in this project, his dad would cover the losses. But Boss Zhou insisted that Pei Qian's actions were no different from a slap in the face to Tianhua and Fuhui. Hearing that, Li Shi instantly got mad and started planning to crush Pei Qian. Back at the company, Pei Qian gave Ma Yang full control to open an internet cafe. Going from vice president to internet cafe boss made Ma Yang pretty confused. Pei Qian explained that Tengda was diving deep into the gaming industry, but lacked a direct window to connect with players. That's when Ma Yang realized that opening an internet cafe was just a stepping stone for the company to become a giant in the gaming world. Pei Qian demanded that they build a super fancy internet cafe mixed with a coffee shop. Ma Yang immediately took the job and proudly walked away, while Pei Qian sank into his daydream that the company would definitely lose big time this round. The next morning, Xiao Cui showed Pei Qian a super spacious spot, perfect for opening an internet cafe and coffee shop. Right then, Ma Yang also brought Zhang Yuan over, saying this was the newly hired network manager. After chatting for a bit, Pei Qian realized Zhang Yuan didn't seem to have any standout skills, so he immediately decided to hire him with the goal of going bankrupt as easily as possible. Right after, he told Xiao Cui to go ahead and sign the lease for this super expensive spot. Somewhere else, Li Shi was playing Bullet Mark at an internet cafe and got annoyed because the game sucked, so he immediately called Mayan to complain. Right then, he got the news that Pei Qian was opening an internet cafe near Jinxian University. Li Shi went over to check it out and found that the cafe was in a pretty sketchy location, and it was even named Lazy Internet Cafe, which made him laugh, not understanding what kind of trick Pei Qian was trying to pull. Over here, Pei Qian told Ma Yang to pack the cafe with everything flashy and the absolute best, and strictly forbid any kind of discount events. On opening day, the Lazy Internet Cafe was totally empty without a single customer. Zhang Yuan was super worried, but Ma Yang still insisted that Boss Pei definitely had a reason for doing this. But after waiting forever with no one walking in, Ma Yang had to ask the staff to chant the welcome slogan to the Lazy Internet Cafe all together again in the empty space. The next morning, Assistant Xian came to Tengda to announce some really great news. The company S3 games were a massive success, so Boss Pei decided to take 50% of the net profit as a project bonus to give to all the employees. Hearing that, everyone was stunned because they didn't expect the bonus to be that huge. Right after, everyone excitedly lined up to go to Assistant Xian's office to get their money. Everyone was thrilled except for Pei Qian, who wasn't happy at all. In his eyes, everything started with Zibo. First, he secretly worked overtime to finish Divine General contract, and then he came up with the minigame inside Desert Island Gun King, becoming the main culprit who helped Tengda make a fortune. His accomplice was Bao Su, the guy he saw as the bad apple spoiling the bunch. Lin Wan also played a part when she brought her personal connections into the company, finding free playtesters and accidentally creating a massive promo effect that made the game famous. Pei Qian realized it was time to roll out the plan he had been brewing for a while. He stood in front of the whole staff and announced that the company had picked out the top performers and would give a 1 million dream fund to the first guy, Zibo. Holding the trophy in his hands, Zibo was overjoyed and getting ready to give a speech when Pei Qian quickly snapped a random souvenir photo and sent him right back down. The second top performer was Bao Su. His prize was a 1-month paid vacation along with a luxury trip. When it came to the next person, everyone thought it would be Lin Wan, but Pei Qian called out Ming Liang's name, promoting him and giving him a raise at the same time. As a result, Zibo was thrilled, Bao Su was sad because he didn't want to go on a trip, and Ming Liang was just clueless because he suddenly had to carry more responsibilities. By noon, while everyone went to eat, Ming Liang sat there blankly, not even wanting to touch his chopsticks. He just wanted to be a regular programmer, yet he got forced to be the project manager. Lin Wan told him getting promoted and getting a raise was a good thing, so he shouldn't overthink it and just go eat. Pei Qian happened to see Ming Liang still at the company, so he reminded him no overtime was allowed. Ming Liang quickly explained he wasn't working late, and asked to swap the project manager role, because he only wanted to do programming and study future plans. Hearing that, Pei Qian immediately decided that from now on, Tengda's games wouldn't be allowed to have any updates. Hearing that, Lin Wan worried that if they didn't release new games, they'd get phased out sooner or later. But Pei Qian just said they would still make new games. For now, just let Ming Liang get used to the job. Ming Liang was left standing there frozen because he never wanted a promotion in the first place. Meanwhile, at the Lazy Internet Cafe, going a whole day without a single customer made Ma Yang super sad. Right then, Chun Lei walked in and asked Zhang Yuan to stop singing because his voice was too awful to listen to. It sounded just like ghosts crying and wolves howling. Then he turned around and suggested that if the cafe hadn't hired a singer yet, he could give it a try. Ma Yang recognized him as the guy who used to stand outside burning incense, so he decided to hire Chun Lei to perform. Back at the company, Ming Liang complained to Lin Wan that he just wanted a stable job, get a steady paycheck and get off work on time to hang out, not wanting to be a project manager at all. He even planned to ask to pass the position to her, but Lin Wan thought Boss Pei definitely had his own intentions when he picked him. When she found out the internet cafe changed singers today, Lin Wan predicted things might turn around. The next morning, Pei Qian's eye kept twitching. He was worried that some project accidentally made money again. Sure enough, thanks to Chun Lei's really good voice, the Lazy Internet Cafe suddenly attracted a massive crowd. When Pei Qian rode his bike there, right in front of him was an overly packed scene of customers. He could only look up at the sky, asking himself where his huge empty internet cafe had gone. Thanks to Chun Lei's voice, tons of fangirls showed up to support him, and the Lazy Internet Cafe even got famous fast on the internet. Pei Qian stepped into the internet cafe, and right in front of him was a super loud and bustling scene, with customers packed in tight. He stood frozen on the spot, feeling bitter and confused inside, having no clue what kind of trick Ma Yang pulled to make a totally empty place suddenly get so famous. He suddenly realized that he seemed to only hire people who were his total kryptonite, ruining his plans time and time again. Wanting to take a loss was as hard as reaching the sky. Hearing Ma Yang report that before 3:42 p.m. tomorrow, the lazy internet cafe would officially turn a profit, Pei Qian instantly got furious. He scolded him, saying it was a good thing he got there in time. Otherwise he would have caused a massive disaster, flipped his whole plan upside down and even ruined Tingda's image. Ma Yang looked clueless and asked, is making a profit wrong too? Pei Qian then broke it down, saying no company opens a flagship store and turns one side into a nightclub and the outside into a drinking joint. Doing that was just chasing illusions. Panicking, Ma Yang asked how to fix it. Pei Qian immediately ordered him to get rid of all the flashy lights and alcohol, restore the whole cafe to its original state, and even shut down the dying-style drinking spot outside. When Chunlei was mentioned, Pei Qian went straight to talk to him. He told Chunlei that since he had talent and good looks, he should step out of his comfort zone and enter competition so the whole country would know him, instead of just singing in an internet cafe. Chunlei hesitated because he felt super comfortable at the cafe, but Pei Qian promised he was ready to sponsor him, and even if he failed he could always come back. That made Chunlei incredibly touched. 2 weeks later, at the lazy internet cafe, Chunlei announced to his fangirls that he wouldn't be singing there anymore. He said he had never found his true calling, until he met someone who opened his eyes and gave him the chance to step out and test himself. Hearing that, all the fans supported him and wished him success, telling him not to forget everyone once he got famous. Chunlei was moved and bowed to thank them for understanding. Hearing Chunlei's goodbye speech, Ma Yang felt super sad. Zhang Yuan comforted him, saying the kid was loyal and would definitely come back to visit later. But Ma Yang just sighed. Right when he saw hope for the cafe to make money, the lead singer was about to debut, and they even had to cover his training costs. A month later, when the Lunar New Year arrived, Ma Yang went back to his hometown to visit his parents and relatives. As soon as he arrived, he saw his neighbors arguing loudly. Pei Qian quickly ran in to break it up, advising everyone to stay calm and talk things out since it was the new year. It turned out Uncle Gu refused to let them install an elevator in the public space, and demanded a huge payout before he would agree. The unhappy residents almost got into a fist fight. When Pei Qian stepped in to mediate, Aunt Zhang sarcastically said, "Word on the street is you're doing great in business and bought a fancy house for your parents. Don't know if that's true or just bragging." Pei Qian felt so awkward he didn't know where to hide his face, but his dad proudly confirmed his son bought a high-end apartment in the Zhoan area. Hearing that, old Gu got even more annoyed and said, "Since your son already lives in a fancy house, why do you care about this rundown neighborhood? Today I am absolutely not letting that elevator be installed." The crowd instantly erupted in a loud argument, even pushing and shoving so hard that Pei Qian couldn't stop them. After that, they went home, and the whole family gathered around the dinner table. Pei Qian said he switched to a new job, and afraid he couldn't make time during the holidays, he came back early. He was currently working at Tingda. The boss was super generous, giving them time off until the 15th of the first lunar month. His dad was surprised because he usually came back right before New Year's Eve, but now he got off so early. Pei Qian just said it was because the boss was really nice. He gave a gift to his dad, but as soon as the tea bag was opened it burst apart, making his parents realize their son wasn't actually well off. Pei Qian had to explain that his projects were still waiting to wrap up, and after that, he would put down the deposit and take them to see the house. Hearing that, his parents cheered up right away. Elsewhere, Lin Wan's dad brought up how she asked for a year to be independent, and now that the time was up, he told her to come back home to work. Lin Wan told her parents she had found a place where she could achieve her ideals, hoping they would support her so she could stay at Tingda. Even though it was just a startup and couldn't compared to Tianhuan's size, the boss there was someone with huge ideals. Her dad disagreed, thinking that if his daughter worked hard for someone else, doing random chores for a tiny salary, how could she prove her worth? Lin Wan replied that her year-end bonus was 6 figures. Hearing that, her parents finally smiled, figuring their daughter must be truly capable to hit that income level. She went on to talk about Tingda, saying the boss had great morals. His office was old, but he let the staff use totally top-tier equipment. Their startup game, The Lonely Road and then Divine General Contract, both blew up even though everyone thought they would flop at first. After Desert Island Gun King, because he got influence from touring Tianhua, he made a mistake, but he took the loss himself and apologized to the whole staff. Her boss was super humble, seemingly starting from scratch. He just rode a bike everywhere, and whenever he launched a project he always knew it was a sure win. Elsewhere, while watching the New Year's Eve show, Pei Qian unexpectedly saw Chunlei on TV. He immediately went online to check it out, and realized this guy was getting wildly praised by fans. When he looked at the company group chat, he saw that the red envelopes sent out this time were way too small, so he quickly called assistant Xian. But she couldn't hear a thing because she was at a bar with blasting music. Seeing employees passing out red envelopes one after another in the group, Pei Qian really wanted to jump in and grab some, but thinking it'd be totally embarrassing for the boss to fight over red envelopes, he just stayed quiet and watched from the outside. After Chunlei left, the lazy internet cafe instantly became dead empty. The familiar singing was gone, and the customers vanished too. Over on the other side, Mayan told Li Shi, when that singer was still at the cafe, this place was packed. Now that he has gone, the cafe is pretty much done for. Li Shi, on the other hand, thought the boss intentionally let Chunlei go, and even sponsored him to chase his dream. At the peak of its popularity, there wasn't even room to stand. So Pei Qian's move definitely had a hidden agenda. While Pei Qian was watching Chunlei perform on TV, Assistant Exine called to tell him that an investment company under Fu Hui Group wanted to buy out the internet cafe. The party offering the deal was a subsidiary run by Li Shi, the only son of Li Fuhui. Hearing that, Pei Qian immediately got annoyed, said no, and hung up. Seeing that, Ma Yang spoke on behalf of the company and told Li Shi that after Chunlei left, the cafe did take a hit, but they could still fix it. Selling it was out of the question. Li Shi advised that holding out was just burning money, warning them not to wait until it was beyond saving. The deal he offered was basically charity. Even Ma Yang and Zhang Yuan could stay just under a new boss. After saying his piece, he left. Walking out, Li Shi got even madder because someone dared to reject his offer. He was so annoyed he drank Yakult, cursing Pei Qian as an idiot rich kid, then ordered his underlings to immediately call and set up a meeting. That night, seeing Chunlei win the championship on the Dream Voice TV show, Pei Qian stood there frozen, feeling like his life was over. Whatever he invested in, it succeeded. On the live broadcast, Chunlei sent his thanks to the boss of the lazy internet cafe, and said he would remember Pei Qian's kindness for the rest of his life. Watching that scene, Mr. Yujun turned to his wife and said that guy was truly a great big bro, wondering when his own son would ever meet a mentor like that. Hearing Chunlei say on live TV that after getting his award, he would go back to the lazy internet cafe to sing a few songs to help the boss out, Pei Qian instantly panicked. He never expected life to be so ironic. He had just been worrying about the cafe being empty, and now he was terrified it would get packed again. Meanwhile, at the lazy internet cafe, Ma Yang and Zhang Yuan were super moved by Chunlei's promise. Right then, Pei Qian and Li Shi walked in almost at the exact same time. Li Shi bluntly asked Pei Qian what he thought about selling the cafe. Ma Yang immediately chased the customers out, making Li Shi furious. He declared that whatever he wanted, he would definitely get, and then stomped off angrily. Pei Qian was about to chase after him, but Ma Yang stopped him, saying they didn't need to back down anymore since they had Chunlei to save the day. Not long after, Li Shi came back and announced that this place now belonged to him. He had signed a contract with the landlord and paid triple the penalty fee on their behalf, so everyone had to leave right away. Hearing that, Pei Qian, who was feeling down, suddenly cheered up. If Chunlei came back and the cafe made a profit again, he'd truly be done for. Li Shi's crew rushed in to tear the place down. Ma Yang and Zhang Yuan risked everything to stop them, but how could two guys fight off a whole crowd? Li Shi stood outside clapping, acting like he already won. Seeing them still trying to hold their ground, Pei Qian stepped up to take the blame, telling them to come at him if they had a problem. Li Shi coldly replied, "This is my turf now. You guys have no rights anymore." Furious, Zhang Yuan pulled out his phone and recorded his face and his forceful behavior. When Aobing pushed Ma Yang down, Ma Yang immediately rolled on the ground acting like he was beaten up, which pissed the guy off even more. He was about to strike again, but Pei Qian stopped him. He asked, "Do we really have to go this far?" Li Shi just sneered, saying he was way too green to fight him. Right when the tension peaked, Lin Wan's parents showed up. Confirming this property belonged to the Shanhua Group and introducing themselves as Lin Wan's parents, her dad stated the contract with Pei Qian was still valid, said he would investigate the breach of contract, forbade the landlord from changing tenants, and let him use the place for free indefinitely. Li Shi was so shocked he collapsed, while Pei Qian was left dead silent, completely speechless. When they sat down to talk, Pei Qian thanked Jingnan for stepping in to help, but insisted he still had to pay the rent. Shenhua said Lin Wan had been stubborn since she was little. After coming back from abroad, she only wanted to make games and refused to take over the family business. Since she came to Jinxian, she had been willing to share her work with them and seemed way happier, so they were truly thankful to Pei Qian. Hearing that, Pei Qian replied he would definitely train her well. Jingnan told him to make sure Lin Wan never found out they were there, and then the couple left. When seeing them out, the manager suddenly announced to all the gamers that Mr. Lin was paying for everyone's bills tonight. Hearing that, Pei Qian furiously declared that he and the Lin family were sworn enemies. The next day, at the Tengda office, Pei Qian sat there looking soulless because his dream of buying a house just flew 1,000 miles away. The real estate agent kept texting him asking if he was coming to sign the contract. The lazy coffee shop was still making a profit. Li Shi caused trouble, seemingly helping him dodge a bullet, but then Jungnan showed up. The reason he was stuck at a 5,000 buck salary was clear. Pei Qian realized the biggest disaster was Lin Wan. He immediately called Lin Wan into his office and gave her the task of compiling all the games that lost money and had terrible reputations over the last 10 years. He told her to make it super detailed and insisted it had to be done this month. Lin Wan said the month was almost over, but if she could work overtime, she could finish it. Pei Qian immediately gave her special permission to work overtime, telling her she could work as late as she wanted. Lin Wan happily thanked him for the opportunity. Pei Qian hoped she'd suffer enough to leave Tengda early and go back to inherit her family's business. Right then, Assistant Exine walked in and asked if they should take the whole staff out to eat when they came back to work after the new year, based on his suggestion. Pei Qian said the goal of the dinner was to boost everyone's morale for the new year. Plus, his salary this month was only 5,000 bucks, which wasn't even enough for 3 meals, so he was really looking forward to this dinner. Assistant Xian reminded him that under the contract terms, staff dinners couldn't go over 150 a head, so the budget he proposed was way too high. Pei Qian got frustrated because he was restricted at every turn. He just wanted everyone to hang out, not open a restaurant. But as soon as opening a restaurant was mentioned, an idea sparked in his head. Right after that, Pei Qian took Ma Yang and Wensuan deep into a remote forest. Walking till they were out of breath, the two guys had no idea where he was taking them. Pei Qian said it was a shortcut, and the restaurant was right up ahead. Seeing there was zero cell service in the area, Ma Yang felt like something was off. This didn't feel like going out to eat, it felt like wilderness survival. Pei Qian argued that even though it was far from downtown, it was close to nature. Walking a bit further, they reached the Mingyun Manor. Looking at the rundown scene, Wensuan complained that back at the lazy coffee shop, he was the head chef, but being a manager at a place like this totally didn't suit him. Pei Qian immediately appointed him as the manager, saying if it lost money, he would take the blame. Wensuan agreed but pointed out that this place was in southeast Jinxian. If people came from the west or north, it would take over 2 hours of driving. They'd be too tired to even want to eat. Pei Qian said in business you can't just look at the present. Mingyun Manor would definitely become a new commercial hub in the future. This was a pioneer strategy and everyone should trust him. A little while later, Xiao Chui arrived at the manor and asked if this place was a good fit. Pei Qian confirmed it was perfect, but wondered if it was up for rent. Xiao Chui explained that the situation here was super complicated. He had to work hard to find the developer, but they only had original units, hadn't sold a single one, and weren't renting them out, only selling. Hearing that, Pei Qian immediately decided they had no choice but to buy the place. That sentence left Xiao Chui, Ma Yang, and Wensuan totally stunned, having zero clue what he was planning. Right after, a cleaning crew was sent in to renovate the manor. Lin Wan also showed up, saw Pei Qian carrying a table, and said it was so hard to see the boss, wondering why he picked this place to open a restaurant. Pei Qian, panting from exhaustion, asked why she was there. Lin Wan said the list of failed games is done, and the digital copy has been emailed. Hearing that, Pei Qian told her to compile the failures from another 10 years back, and Lin Wan still agreed. A while later, Bao Su came back to the company from his trip with messy hair and sunburned skin. Looking at him, Pei Qian commented that the trip really toughened him up. Bao Su was so frustrated he wanted to scream. Throughout the trip he always had to wake up early, stay up late, do video calls, send his location and fully report on every single tourist spot. But all that resentment only existed in his head. He completely didn't dare to talk back to the boss. Pei Qian just told Bao Su to rest up well before coming back to work. Not long after, Tengda's employees dragged themselves up to Mingyun Manor to see what kind of restaurant he was opening. The walk was super long, leaving Zibo totally out of breath. He blurted out that he didn't understand who would come to this middle-of-nowhere place just to eat. When everyone reached the field, Ma Yang grumbled that they had been working all morning and everyone was just now showing up. Hearing that, everyone worried that Pei Qian was going to make them eat whatever they picked. While everyone was complaining, Lin Wan actually seemed super excited about the idea. She immediately rolled up her sleeves to pull veggies and dragged everyone along to help. After the food was ready, Pei Qian stood up, raised his tea instead of wine, and announced 3 things. First, wishing Zibo smooth sailing as he steps into his startup journey. Second, welcoming Bao Su back from his super long trip. Third, the nameless private kitchen is officially open for business, so everyone eat and drink up. While Pei Qian was happily eating, the staff was so exhausted they didn't even want to touch their chopsticks. Ma Yang suggested they rethink the private kitchen model, because with some people going into the fields and others going into the water, everyone was totally drained and not in the mood to eat. Pei Qian explained that the restaurant's target audience was rich people. They don't lack good food, but they lack the experience of a simple rustic life, so you have to think from their perspective. After hearing his analysis, everyone felt it made sense. Then Pei Qian turned to Zibo and asked how his startup prep was going. Zibo said he wanted to start with a web novel idea. Thinking that Zibo was so clueless that he'd definitely lose money, Pei Qian immediately announced he would invest 1 million in him. Hearing this, Zibo was overjoyed. He promised to give his all to this startup, meet Pei Qian's expectations, and help Tengda expand into the web novel field to create more value. Not seeing Lin Wan around, Pei Qian found out she was obsessed with planting vegetables in the field. In the afternoon he went out and asked if she really liked picking vegetables. Lin Wan said this model was very meaningful and an experience she'd never had before. After hearing that, Pei Qian figured she had compiled too many game documents in a short time, meaning she must have secretly worked overtime because the company made an unreasonable request just to save a little money. If you stay, it'll only get harder for you, so you might as well go home, he said. Lin Wan understood what he meant but only replied that she would try to balance work and life well. Pei Qian was speechless and just told her to go collect her overtime pay later. On the other side, when Li Shi found out Pei Qian opened a private kitchen model, he told Mayan that not everyone could pull this off. Last time the long-faced guy rejected him, he likely got a heads up from Pei Qian. Mayan, however, thought Tengda wasn't a solid block of iron. That guy was definitely close to Pei Qian, but the other employees might not be, so it was still hard to say. Right after that, Li Shi decided to go see Mingyun Manor for himself. He started the trip full of energy, but by the time he climbed up there his face was pale. He had to use a cane because walking for so long made his legs weak. He was exhausted and shouted for service, but no one came out to greet him. Stepping inside, he saw the staff hanging out and playing cards. He yelled, asking if this was the private kitchen opened by Tungda. Wensuan came out to greet him and first asked if he had a reservation. Li Shi was annoyed because there wasn't a single customer in the place, yet a reservation was still needed. But Wensuan said that was boss pay's rule. Also, the place offered vegetable planting, and when the season was right, customers could pick fresh veggies and cook seafood from the pond themselves. Li Shi just asked for a sip of water and struck up a conversation with Jiao, wanting to add her on WeChat to book a table next time.
Jiao agreed. When Wensuan brought up coffee, Li Shi got annoyed because he wanted water, but Wensuan said they only had coffee and then asked for 180 bucks. A while later, the whole staff told Pei Qian that someone was trying to bribe them for info on the private kitchen, 500 for a regular tip and 3,000 for important info. Pei Qian thought to himself why he never ran into such good deals, while the staff insisted they would never betray the kitchen because boss Pei's kindness was as heavy as a mountain. Pei Qian told everyone to just go ahead and sell the info to him, and the more expensive, the better, ideally until he went broke. Then he played a recording from Jiao's phone and intentionally leaked a lot of info to Li Shi. Knowing that the sneaky guy had personally visited Mingyun Manor to check things out, Pei Qian told Wensuan that next time he came, just give it to him for free. He saw protecting Mingyun Manor as protecting his own dream and entrusted that dream to Wensuan. After hearing this, Wensuan still couldn't understand rich people as logic. How could someone be so happy after losing money? At Tingdai, it was very late, but Lin Wan was still sitting there working overtime. When passing the office, she saw Pei Qian working hard too. She thought to herself that he always forbids staff from working late, yet he often did it himself until night. Actually, at that time, Pei Qian was just calculating how to make the restaurant lose even more money. Lin Wan brought in a massive stack of papers, saying she had compiled and filtered 4,826 cases for him to look over. Seeing the mountain of documents, Pei Qian was stunned. Lin Wan, however, was excited, thinking that by looking at the past, they could find possibilities for the future. She then immediately reported a series of issues she found for his reference. The next morning, Assistant Xin was out of breath and covered in dust by the time she climbed up to Mingyun Manor, feeling very annoyed. She congratulated Pei Qian for reaching his initial loss goal thanks to the private kitchen model. The bonus had been transferred to his personal account. Receiving a bonus for the first time, Pei Qian was incredibly excited and promised to keep working hard. Right after that, he climbed onto the roof and shouted to the sky that he finally made money and must keep losing to become a billionaire. Assistant Xin, standing below, could only laugh. With money in hand, Pei Qian immediately went to buy a house. He was happy that his dream of owning a home finally came true. He took his parents to see the model unit and told them if they had any design requests, just tell designer Liang. This person would help finish every detail. Designer Liang also promised to create a space that would make everyone happy. But just a few days later, Pei Qian said he only needed the water, electricity, and doors installed, which made designer Liang walk away in a huff. Pei Qian knew in his heart that losing money just once wasn't enough. He had to keep losing so Tengda would shrink in size, and only then would he have money to decorate the house. At Tengda, when Lin Wan and Zibo were about to report their work, they found out Pei Qian hadn't come to the office for days. Turns out he was at home thinking hard about plans to make the company lose more money. Ma Yang reported that people in the market were starting to copy their model, so he wanted to open branches and turn it into a chain, but Pei Qian firmly said no. Ma Yang then suggested opening a coffee shop and was ready to buy the unit next door because he had enough money to buy houses for his whole family. Pei Qian could only sigh, feeling like everyone was getting rich while he was still poor. Right then, Lin Wan, Zibo, Bao Su, and Ming Liang showed up at his house to drop off documents and left immediately. He didn't even have time to explain that he had his own place. At the company, Pei Qian suddenly felt bad about his employee's passion, but another personality in his heart reminded him that if he wasn't determined, there would be more surprises later. Zibo wrote tens of thousands of words. With that kind of imagination, no one could beat him if he wrote novels. Ma Yang was determined to open more lazy coffee branches to buy houses for his family of 8. Pei Qian decided to first roll out a multi-line law strategy and use a reverse management method to split up and control this pack of wolves and tigers. The next month, he announced that the second place excellent employee title went to Bao Su. Bao Su cried and didn't want to go, but security still dragged him out and forced him on his way. Next, Ma Yang received the Dream Fund. Pei Qian announced he was giving full control of the lazy coffee shop to Zhang Yuan. Ma Yang had to use the fund to incubate more startup projects. It was Zibo's turn to get the excellent title. He was tasked with creating a unique independent style in the web novel field and immediately promised to give his all. The next excellent employee was Lin Wan. Knowing she didn't like side-scrolling games, Pei Qian immediately got the idea to develop exactly that kind of game. Later, he moved into his newly bought apartment. Ma Yang looked at the 4 bare white walls, no paint, no equipment, and was full of questions. Pei Qian explained This is the luxury gray style that is popular right now. Seeing that he even planned to set up a tent inside the house, Ma Yang asked in surprise if he was doing performance art. Pei Qian said it was the philosophy of letting go that regular people wouldn't understand. At the same time, he remarked that letting Ma Yang only manage an internet cafe was a waste of talent. Pei Qian said Ma Yang was fit for a bigger platform, and once he finished the draft, he handed over to him to run. Hearing that, Ma Yang was beyond excited and immediately put all his effort into setting up the tent for Pei Qian. But he kept pumping so hard that he forgot to actually plug the pump into the tent, leaving Pei Qian just shaking his head in silence. 2 weeks later, Pei Qian took Ma Yang to a building where the Yuan Meng investment company had been set up. He said Shen Lei was the first dream Ma Yang ever invested in. Other investors only care about numbers, but he could see dreams. Hearing that, Ma Yang's eyes instantly lit up. Back at Tingda, Pei Qian looked over Lin Wan's soul-like game concept and decided to put her and Ming Liang in charge. He felt that even though Desert Island Gun King made a profit, the mindset of chasing the market was wrong. This time, they had to create their own core gameplay, even incorporating poetry into it. Lin Wan thought to herself that soul-like games were already hard enough, and adding poetry would make it impossible. Right after, Pei Qian went to find Wu Shi and Wu Sheng, the two who were always reading novels, to ask what kind of stories were the most addictive. They enthusiastically told him everything they knew, while he just listened thoughtfully before leaving. After work, Pei Qian told Wu Shi and Wu Sheng that since they help with research, they should go collect their overtime pay. When he saw the company next door go bankrupt and the employees packing up, he actually teared up out of jealousy, wondering when he would ever get to go bankrupt. An idea flashed in his head, and he immediately found assistant XIN to lease the office next door. After setting up the equipment, Pei Qian brought Zibo over and told him this was the workspace he had set up for him. When candidates came for interviews, he announced that the company would absolutely never abandon any author. He promised free food and housing, a labor contract with a base salary, and full social security and health benefits. Hearing this, everyone was super hyped because they had never seen a place with such great perks. Next, Pei Qian listed a bunch of benefits for working at Endpoint Web Novels, but required that the content match Tingda's values. He wanted to get rid of the power fantasy and overbearing CEO tropes, turning sweet romances into suffering romances and satisfying stories into frustrating stories. After saying his piece, he left, while Zibo stayed behind to tell everyone to look over the contracts and sign whenever they wanted. After that, a lot of foreigners also showed up to apply. Zibo immediately gave them a warm welcome and invited them to check out the contracts. Over on Ma Yang's side, he excitedly told Pei Qian that he had found a whole group of people with dreams in their hearts and asked him to help vet them. The first candidate was a chef who formally introduced his original creation, grilled cold noodles. After that, a bunch of people stepped onto the stage, each with weird and confusing creative ideas. Seeing all these useless projects, Pei Qian rejected them almost immediately without hesitation. Next, a guy named Shihua stepped up to perform martial arts, repeatedly hitting his own body with a stick. After his performance, he shared his dream of being famous, wanting people to know him as an actor. In his 5 years in the business, he had been in 408 movies and TV shows, but only as an extra. Still, he believed that one day he could play a lead role and become a global star, hoping the company would invest in him. Seeing Shihua yelling and acting like a monkey, Pei Qian sat there grinning ear to ear, while Ma Yang found it pretty interesting. Elsewhere, Zibo was explaining the selection criteria to the candidates at Endpoint Web Novels. For female-targeted stories, there absolutely could not be any handsome CEO characters. The male lead should be as timid as possible. As for male-targeted stories, the main character had to be mistreated from start to finish, never able to turn things around, and ruthlessly crushed by fate. Pei Qian sat alone in his new house, which still only had 4 bare walls, focusing on his plan. Right then, his parents called to ask how the renovation was going. He replied that he was at the new place and getting ready to start the work. His mom mentioned that today Uncle Go and Aunt Zhang came by again to mock them, saying he bought a house but wasn't he enjoying it, which made his dad's blood pressure spike. Mr. Yu Jun quickly reassured his son that he didn't care about those words and was still in good health, telling him to just focus on work. Hearing that, Pei Qian said he would finish the renovation quickly so they could move in soon. On the contrary, his parents told him to watch his health first and not to rush. After hanging up, Pei Qian sat in the temporary tent in the middle of his empty house, having a headache over how to lose money faster so he could afford to decorate. The next morning, he saw everyone gathered together playing games and having a blast, so he walked over to check on them. One guy casually said he'd let him play in a bit, but Ma Yang immediately introduced him as Boss Pei, making everyone jump up and bow. Ma Yang explained, "These are the new employees at Yuan Meng Venture Capital, they're all old classmates." Pei Qian noted that Ma Yang was really hitting his stride, but wondered why everyone was up so early just to game together. He called it an occupational hazard and gave everyone 5 game skins as a hiring bonus. When he saw a wound on Ishiu's forehead, he asked about it. She just said she accidentally fell. Pei Qian thought to himself that she was as unlucky as ever, and she would definitely be the one to make the company go bankrupt. He pulled Ma Yang aside and told him that Ishi was the guardian angel of Yuan Meng, reminding him to arrange a full physical checkup for her. Ma Yang agreed right away. Bao Su, who was traveling abroad, send a video reporting on his work. Pei Qian laughed at every part he watched. Right then, Lin Wan walked in to present a new idea. While players are fighting, they could use the skill wind-up time to recite a matching ancient poem before the move lands. Hearing the idea, Pei Qian was totally shocked. He didn't expect Lin Wan to be so smart. He even got worried, and a bit scared that she would make something that brought in massive profits, leaving him to suffer alone. Suddenly coming up with a new plan, he immediately set a requirement. Since it was a soul-like game, the difficulty had to be set to hell mode. The player wall-off rate should be 99%. He told her to pick the hardest difficulty she could think of, and he would handle the details himself. Additionally, he wanted to add a taunting system, turning the game into a direct interaction between the game and the player. The game would be sold as a download, but they had to set the longest possible refund window. He even wanted to remind players not to forget to get a refund. Finally, he named the game Turn Back as a Shore. Lin Wan felt the game was super weird, but she still had to follow orders. Meanwhile, over at the novel department, Zibo was so sad he was speechless because they didn't have a single reader. Lin Wan comforted him, saying the Endpoint web novels platform had just started and he needed to stay calm. Zibo blamed himself for the huge responsibility, feeling like he let Boss Pei and this beautiful office down. Lin Wan and Ming Liang told him not to worry, as Boss Pei's strategy was definitely not simple. When she heard Zibo say he was writing a story too, Lin Wan got curious and took a look, discovering his pen name was Du Biao. In his work, there was only one reader who commented it was another ghostwriter who was struggling and losing faith, but felt encouraged after reading the story. Even though neither of them had any readers, they hoped to keep writing together. After reading it, Lin Wan suddenly understood that maybe Boss Pei wanted to help struggling writers at the bottom, and she came up with a new idea for the platform. At Yuan Meng Investment, Zhang Wang came to ask for investment for a project that combined vending machine culture with phone booths, creating a new type of automatic booth. After hearing him out, Pei Qian guessed this guy probably didn't even finish middle school. Still, he told Ma Yang to invest anyway, because taking risks is where the future is. He also told Zhang Wang to think more about what the booth needs, and they signed a deal to work together. He told Zhang Wang that if he has any other good projects in the future, he should bring them to Pei Qian first. Zhang Wang was super pumped. A little later, Pei Qian called Assistant Xian over. He said he noticed some employees were secretly working overtime, which meant they were under too much pressure. So, he suggested having a social event during work hours to help everyone relax and bond. Assistant Xian knew exactly what he was up to. The boss just wanted the employees to get busy falling in love so they wouldn't care about work anymore. Assistant Xian reminded him that, according to the rules, these events couldn't last more than one day. So, a big social night for the web novel authors and Tengda's staff officially kicked off. Pei Qian announced that the party was to help everyone find a partner. If they didn't they'd at least make friends. But if they did fall in love, Tengda would pay for the whole wedding. Wu Xi and Wu Sheng purposely set it up, so Pei Qian and Lin Wan were at the same table, which was super awkward for both of them. Pei Qian looked around and saw some people playing games, and others talking about work. No romantic vibe at all. Then he noticed that the area behind Lin Wan was decorated with flowers and balloons like a private date spot. Feeling totally embarrassed, he just chugged a whole bottle of beer. Seeing Ma Yang running around asking everyone for their WeChat, Pei Qian quickly said, "I gotta go stop him," and hurried away. Right then, a writer came up to Lin Wan and said he loved writing poetry since he was a kid and wanted to read her a poem about a beautiful woman that reminded him of her. Seeing this, Pei Qian rushed back, grabbed Lin Wan's hand, and pulled her away. The next morning, people crowded around to see the new phone booth, but as soon as they realized they had to scan a code and pay to enter, they all left. Pei Qian was actually happy about this. He thought losing money like this was great and wanted to keep it going. While checking things out, he saw a Lamborghini drive by and decided it was time to upgrade his ride. He went for a test drive and decided to buy one right away, which made the saleswoman super happy because it meant she wouldn't lose her job. But Assistant Xian reminded him that the company rules only allowed business cars, not sports cars. Pei Qian kept making up excuses to get the Lamborghini, but Assistant Xian stood her ground. She said if he tried to use the company's name for his own fun, she'd have to ban the company from buying any cars at all. The saleswoman saw Pei Qian was blocked, so she suggested a black Mercedes instead. Pei Qian took a quick look and bought it instantly, making her day. On the way back, while waiting at a red light, he saw the company lights were still on. Wondering who was sneaking in extra hours, he pulled a U-turn and rushed back. It turned out to be Lin Wan. Pei Qian was pissed. He reminded her that he gave her time off, so she should be resting like a rich kid should. Lin Wan explained the plan was done but not approved yet, so she wanted to make it better. Pei Qian lied and said he was just too busy to check, but the plan was actually great. He told her and Ming Liang to go ahead with it, but to work slowly and keep it top tier. Then he took her to a gym and told her she had to work out after work from now on. She had to check in and send him photos to prove it. Lin Wan agreed. The next day, she texted him saying the gym closed. Pei Qian video called her to check, and she showed him it was true, it was too expensive, and no one had time to work out. He told her to just go home and rest. Pei Qian had a new idea. He told Ma Yang that it was time to move up from being an angel investor to a heavenly investor. He started looking at swimming pools and gyms for rent. That's when he ran into the saleswoman from the car dealership again, but now she was handing out flyers. Seeing how shy she was, he knew she was the perfect person for his lose money plan. He asked why she quit, and DNMO said she only sold one car all year. He asked if she wanted a new job. Soon, DNMO was the manager of a gym Pei Qian just bought. Jiang Ling said many of their branches had closed, but Pei Qian insisted on buying this one. He even wanted to replace all the equipment with brand new stuff, even though the current machines were already the best in the business. On top of that, he wouldn't take old members, and even offered to pay their cancellation fees so they could go elsewhere. DNMO just said they should follow Boss Pei's orders. Jiang Ling was worried that replacing everything would cost millions, and the pool was expensive to keep up even though nobody used it. She thought the sales team would be under a lot of pressure, which made DNMO sad since she hated sales. But then she announced that Boss Pei would pay them triple their old salary with no sales targets, making Jiang Ling incredibly happy. After the gym was open for a while, Jiang Ling noticed that everything Pei Qian ordered was the opposite of what customers wanted. DNMO thought maybe Boss Pei wanted to change the whole industry. Later, Pei Qian even hired super skinny trainers who couldn't even lift a heavy weight, which left Jiang Ling speechless. Meanwhile, Ma Yang went to Yuanmeng but found no staff there. Yisu said everyone was moved to the gym for the grand opening. Ma Yang asked if she could handle the work alone, and she nodded, though she secretly thought he was crazy. At the gym, the staff were just playing games and eating snacks, which annoyed Jiang Ling. She asked DNMO if they should go out and hand out flyers since they were opening soon. DNMO said Boss Pei told them to do nothing. Jiang Ling was worried the gym would close down. She thought even if they followed the boss's weird ideas, they still needed actual customers. Just then, Pei Qian walked in and named the gym Sloth Fitness. On opening day, the owner of Victory Fitness came by to talk trash. Pei Qian just told him to try and beat Sloth Fitness, and even helped hand out flyers for the competitor. Jiang Ling and DNMO had no idea what he was thinking. Because Sloth Fitness kept losing money, Pei Qian's plan was on a roll. When he saw Sibo looking sad because the web novel site wasn't growing, he told him to be patient. Sibo suggested hiring a smart-looking celebrity to represent them, even though it was expensive. Pei Qian said yes immediately and gave him an unlimited budget. They hired Liu Bajiao to do a photo shoot at the manor. During the shoot, Manager Mine said their artist usually only works with luxury brands, but they made an exception because the bookish image fit him so well. After the shoot, Zibo asked Baijiao if he had any books to recommend to help with the promotion, but Baijiao arrogantly said he'd read so many he couldn't even remember. Then he just left with his crew. A while later, Basu finished his trip abroad with a totally sunburnt face. The moment he landed, he was so happy he almost cried. He immediately asked Lin Wan and Ming Liang out for hot pot to celebrate being back. Ming Liang noticed that Baosu looked a lot tougher after the trip, even suggesting he could work as a trainer at Sloth Fitness. Baosu was confused and asked what that was. Lin Wan explained it was the new gym Boss Pei invested in. Hearing that, Baosu started complaining about how the boss made him travel everywhere and check in with reports every single day. On top of that, the signal abroad sucked, so he basically lost touch with everyone. He wanted to catch up on what he missed. Lin Wan told him the game turned back as the shore was about to release a demo, which shocked Baosu because the progress was so fast. The next day, the game officially entered the testing phase. The whole staff gathered around to watch Baosu play live. His gaming skills were usually top tier, but he got a game over almost instantly. Lin Wan explained that per Boss Pei's orders, the game had a voice control mode. To use a special move, you had to recite a specific ancient poem at the same time to trigger it. Baosu tried again. During a fight with a monster, he tried to recite a poem to attack, but he still failed. The monster actually opened its mouth and mocked him, saying he was all grown up but only knew a toddler-esque goose poem, and that a 3-year-old could do better. Lin Wan said this was the taunting system Boss Pei insisted on adding. Baosu was fuming but didn't dare say anything. He kept asking his coworkers for help with the poems to beat the game. Still, he kept losing, and the monster kept roasting him for being uneducated. Lin Wan said this level of difficulty was the standard for a Souls-like game. Baosu got even more frustrated and played like a madman but still failed. Finally, he declared he was quitting the game to go travel again because that's what he actually liked most. Right then, Zibo showed up like a hero. He recited a full poem perfectly, the special move triggered, and the monster was finally defeated. After that win, the whole office burst into cheers. They finally beat a level that seemed impossible. Thanks to Zibo's literary knowledge and Baosu's pro skills, the two of them started winning level after level. Seeing this, Lin Wan suggested they should put together a guidebook with 100 mandatory poems for players to memorize. Without it, she said, players wouldn't even stand a chance. Zibo was even more impressed, thinking Pei Qian was a true genius for planning this. He suggested letting Pei Qian try the game himself, assuming he'd be great at it. However, when Pei Qian actually tried it, he failed over and over. He could only admit that the game was indeed super hard. Seeing him struggle, Lin Wan reached out and put her hand on his to help him switch to an easier mode. That sudden, light touch made Pei Qian freeze for a second. Even with the difficulty lowered, he still lost. Finally, he ordered her to keep the difficulty exactly where it was, but max out the combat stats. He admitted he didn't expect Lin Wan to make such a great game. While the employees took turns testing the game, Zibo had to run around reciting poems for everyone to help them use their moves. Before long, every Tungda employee was memorizing poetry just to play Turn Back as a Shore. Over at the coast, Mayan told Li Shi that the entire Tungda staff was memorizing poems, and there was definitely a deeper meaning behind it. He also heard that the nameless private kitchen wasn't doing well lately, and that they'd opened a new novel site called Endpoint. Li Shi remarked that Pei Qian was a man with real vision, but it was a shame that people didn't recognize his greatness yet. He figured Pei Qian was still waiting for someone who truly understood him. Later, seeing Lin Wan still working late, Pei Qian told her that Mr. Chiao had tested the game and found some bugs to fix. Lin Wan praised him for being a good boss, but he denied it. He said his stubbornness was forcing her to stay late and even advised her to go back to her family's company where she could grow more easily. Lin Wan replied that her parents were even smarter than her and she would explain her ideas to them. She was sure they'd understand, and she'd also tell them exactly why she chose to stay at Tungda. Hearing that, Pei Qian was totally speechless. The next morning, Mr. Chiao called Pei Qian. He reminded him that he'd previously said only a few pieces of gear were good enough to make up for the weak equipment, but now those effective items were all blocked. Pei Qian calmly explained that he'd cranked up the difficulty for the later parts, so the beginning would naturally feel easier. Plus, he added a bunch of proverbs to the audio, so players would have to think about them. Mr. Chiao was speechless, but had to agree, since Pei Qian was the one paying. Later, Ma Yang complained gloomily that nobody was looking at the phone booths and Sloth Fitness wasn't doing any better. He asked if they should just quit. Pei Qian just said profits didn't matter, what mattered was having a dream. Zibo also came to apologize, saying the cost of hiring Bai Jiao as a spokesperson was huge and still hadn't brought any success. He feared he'd let the boss down. But Pei Qian insisted he wasn't disappointed at all, saying the money was well spent. Seeing Pei Qian in such a good mood, Lin Wan curiously asked him about it. He immediately faked a worried face and said he was under a ton of pressure because of Endpoint, Yuan Meng, and the launch of Turn Back as a Shore. When Turn Back as a Shore finally launched, it immediately got hit with a wave of mixed reviews. Most people trashed the game for being too bad, saying they couldn't use the special moves, and hated that the game forced them to memorize poems. Scrolling through the feed and seeing all the bloggers criticizing it, Pei Qian felt like fireworks were going off in his heart. He felt like he'd finally made the right move. Right then, Ming Liang and Lin Wan rushed in to report that the negative comments all spiked between 7:10 and 7:16. It was clearly a coordinated smear campaign, and they traced it back to someone working with Tianhua. Pei Qian just replied, "The truth will come out, and time will prove everything. If we fight back, we're just like them." After saying that, he left, secretly feeling happy. Elsewhere, Mayan read the negative reviews for Turn Back as a Shore and felt super satisfied, praising Chunjua for doing a great job. Assistant Xian then told Pei Qian that all the projects were losing heavy money, especially the game. Because the costs were so high, he was about to get a massive personal bonus. Pei Qian was thrilled. He immediately announced to the staff that it was a lucky day and they should go have a meal at the manor. At Mingyan Manor, seeing Pei Qian smiling and laughing, no one understood what was going on. All the projects were failing, yet he was this happy they even wondered if he'd lost his mind. While Pei Qian was enjoying his food, none of them could even swallow a bite. Noticing that Hao Qiong was still eating heartily, he told everyone to follow her example. A while later, Pei Qian sat sipping wine and looking at the moon, waiting for his massive bonus so he could live the good life. Just then, two women walked up and asked him if Bai Jiao would be coming to the farm to check in. When they compared the photo Bai Jiao posted, the background was a perfect match for Mingyan Manor. The two girls were so hyped they immediately started screaming and calling all their friends. In no time, a crowd swarmed the place like ants, leaving Pei Qian frozen on the spot. Wen Suin rushed out to announce they weren't taking reservations, but the wave of people kept pushing in, causing him to slip and fall right into the pond. Pei Qian snapped out of it when he heard the scream and ran over to help Wen Suin up. Turns out, the whole mess started because Bai Jiao unexpectedly posted a photo of himself at the manor's private kitchen on social media yesterday. Zibo explained that he noticed Bai Jiao's fans love seeing his candid life shots, so he negotiated for him to post one. He was actually worried his plan backfired since the traffic went to the restaurant instead of the novel site, but everyone else thought he did a killer job. Min Liang checked the comments and found out people had stayed up all night to track down the manor's location. Lin Wan finally realized why Pei Qian wasn't discouraged. He had seen this coming all along. Zibo vowed to keep pushing the website and went back to work, while Lin Wan kept grinding on Turn Back as a Shore. Seeing everyone so busy, Ma Yang called Zhang Wang, determined to step up his game so he wouldn't lose to the restaurant. On the flip side, Li Shi heard about Pei Qian using Bai Jiao for promotion and had a total epiphany. He thought Pei Qian was a marketing genius who knew exactly how to integrate resources. In his eyes, Pei Qian was a top-tier pro, and he couldn't even guess how high Pei Qian's level really was. Contradicting those thoughts, Pei Qian was absolutely miserable watching the non-stop crowds. He sat in a corner with his cane and ordered a ban on fans taking photos with Bai Jiao's painting, hoping they'd get annoyed and never come back. Seeing him so grumpy, Wen Suin just cautiously brought him a glass of wine and quietly walked away. Soon, another group of fans arrived, with Li Shi hiding among them, but Pei Qian spotted him instantly. He asked bluntly if Li Shi was there to spy. Li Shi admitted he just came to learn after seeing Pei Qian flip the script so perfectly. Pei Qian claimed it was all just luck, but Li Shi didn't believe him for a second, thinking he was just being humble. Pei Qian handed Li Shi his cane and said if he wanted to copy the business model, they should be friends first, and he promised to show up for Li Shi's opening day. Li Shi agreed immediately. Back at the office, Pei Qian muttered to himself that a guy like Bai Jiao wasn't going to ruin his plans. He still had the novel site, the investment wing, and the game. Ma Yang reported that a new private kitchen had opened in the city, copying their model. Pei Qian guessed it was Li Shi and called to congratulate him. Ma Yang was shocked they were even talking. Pei Qian just said it was obvious Li Shi would follow suit. He then told everyone they were going to Minfu. Ma Yang dragged the whole Tingda crew there, and everyone was dressed like mobsters. They looked like they were ready for a gang war. Ma Yang started yelling for Li Shi to come out and face them for copying Mingyan Manor. Pei Qian rushed over, having no clue his staff was acting like total goons. Li Shi saw the scene and asked if Pei Qian brought a mob to trash his place, even threatening to call the cops. Pei Qian quickly explained, "I'm here to bring gifts." He presented flowers and a big red envelope. "Happy grand opening." Li Shi was stunned, and Ma Yang's crew was just as confused. Seeing the Tungda staff laughing and chilling, Li Shi noted that Pei Qian's team had a great vibe. He told his partner that Pei Qian had also bought out the gym nearby, and that his restaurant and cafe were all making bank, proving the guy was legit. Since Pei Qian showed up with huge support, Li Shi decided they weren't enemies anymore. In his mind, Pei Qian was a formidable rival. Because Pei Qian personally supported Li Shi, Ma Yang was salty for days and refused to speak to him. Pei Qian had to stand outside his door explaining that it wasn't what he thought. Ma Yang tearfully recited a poem about his heart being for the moon while the moon shines on a ditch. Then, he boldly declared he would settle the score with Li Shi in the investment world to prove who the real top investor in Jinxian was. In reality, the phone booths and sloth fitness were losing heavy cash. Pei Qian told him that chasing dreams doesn't happen overnight. Ma Yang cried, promising that one day their dreams would bloom. Just then, the news reported that the shared phone booths in Jinxian were a massive hit among young people and had become a viral landmark. Seeing the massive crowds, Pei Qian was speechless. The project he meant to fail was now a gold mine. He went to check it out and saw long lines of people waiting for photos. He heard 18 other booths were just as packed. He found Guangjin painting monsters from the game on the new booths, making them even more popular. Pei Qian angrily asked why. Guangjin explained that since the boss used Bai Jiao for the restaurant, he wanted to link the booths to the game. He told a story about a girl working late who couldn't catch a ride in a storm. She took shelter in a booth and found it had everything she needed, even a birthday cake, and it really was her birthday. The booths became known as urban tree holes, places that soothe the soul. Pei Qian was so mad he was about to burst. He crawled into a booth to vent, punching and kicking a training dummy because his cursed staff had ruined his plans again. Outside, Zhang Wang and Ma Yang started yelling, "If you want to vent your stress, get a free pass at Sloth Fitness." The crowd immediately swarmed them for tickets, leaving Pei Qian even more soul-crushed. He told himself that at least the gym was still losing money, but when he got there, it was packed. However, nobody was working out. They were all hanging out, playing mahjong, and drinking tea. Pei Qian angrily called for GNMO and Jiang Ling. The two of them told him to keep it down, because everyone was still sleeping. He was at a loss for words and almost collapsed, feeling like fate was just messing with him. Trying to lose money was somehow harder than winning the lottery. He screamed at Ma Yang, Zhang Wang, and GNMO, asking how things got this way. Ma Yang explained that the phone booths and Sloth Fitness were doing poorly before, but after Bai Jiao gave them the hint, he talked to GNMO about linking the two models together. Pei Qian asked why Sloth Fitness was famous too. GNMO calmly said it was all thanks to Boss Pei's genius plan. They didn't get it before, but now they did. People come home tired and don't want a heavy workout. Sloth Fitness helps them de-stress and relax, which is what they actually need. Hearing the new reports, Pei Qian got furious. He only had one thought. Ma Yang had pulled another crazy stunt to ruin his plan to lose money. He yelled, asking why the company had opened 18 phone booths without anyone telling him. Zhang Wang calmly explained that the booths are now a franchise, with partners joining in, so they expanded super fast. That answer made Pei Qian even more confused. He had no idea where these partners came from. At the same time, Pei Qian called for a meeting with Li Shi. When they met, Li Shi expressed his thanks, saying that because Pei Qian helped him with Starbird Fitness, he decided to invest a little in the phone booth project. Only then did Pei Qian realize Starbird Fitness belonged to Li Shi. Instead, Li Shi emotionally grabbed his hand, saying he never saw him as an enemy. He said he would remember this kindness forever and would always stay on his side. Pei Qian just said he didn't work for rewards, but in Li Shi's eyes, that was just noble humility. He excitedly said he had spread the word about the booths and the gym, and dozens of investors from other cities were asking to join the franchise. Hearing this, Pei Qian almost lost his mind, screaming that he never thought about making money. If he made any, it was just a fluke or bad luck. Li Shi was stunned, even more convinced that Pei Qian was half lying to stay cautious. To him, the two should partner up big time to rule the market. Pei Qian eats the meat, and he'll just take the scraps. Pei Qian could only sigh because no one understood his pain of failing to go bankrupt. Back at the Endpoint web novel site, Pei Qian rushed in, ready to grab Zibo. He couldn't catch him, so he circled behind and asked if anything weird was happening. When he saw the massive losses, he finally let out a rare smile. But right after that, Zibo reported that a novel called The CEO's Secret Crush was ranked second, bringing in profit and new readers. Hearing this, Pei Qian's face changed instantly, and he demanded the story be taken down. Before he could even calm down, he found out that the story Zibo wrote based on Turnback is Ashore was at the top spot. Pei Qian almost slapped him, but Zibo thought he wanted to do a high five. He happily explained it was Lin Wan's idea. At first, no one read it, but then it blew up, and the novel followed. When even the game became a hit, Pei Qian's spirit completely broke. He ran away like a frantic duck out of water. To make matters worse, Lin Wan organized a poetry contest related to the game. Uncle Qian Liang recited poems while Ming Liang played, and Aunt Ming He read for Lin Wan. Both sides took turns, making the atmosphere both busy and weird. After a while, Aunt Ming He won as the crowd cheered. A while later, a special report appeared on the local news. Lately, a poetry craze from Turnback is Ashore was hitting parks and neighborhoods in Jinshan. This was the first time the city held an event like this, and the hype supposedly came from the game of the same name. By mixing ancient poems with unique gameplay, the game got famous fast and was even praised for promoting traditional culture. Seeing the videos spread everywhere, Pei Qian screamed for an emergency meeting. He stood in the middle of the room, looking dazed. All the projects meant to lose money were suddenly making a profit. Lin Wan explained that he was the one who told her to increase the ad budget and spend big, so she held a lucky draw in Jinshan. Guang Jian also worked hard to draw the original art perfectly this time. Guang Jian stepped in to apologize. He said he used to draw the card game sloppily because he thought the boss was a bad guy. But Pei Qian approved it and paid him well, so this time he gave it his all. Hearing this, Pei Qian got even angrier. He almost cried, saying he made the game super hard, mixed in poems, and added mockery, yet people still played it. He turned his back, shaking, but everyone thought he was just moved to tears, so they laughed along. In his heart, Pei Qian was in total despair. He hired a bunch of cursed staff who turned every loss into a win. Seeing everyone online praising the game, he wanted to smash his phone, but then he realized he'd have to spend money on a new one, so he held back. Just then, Lin Wan walked up and asked, "Why are you standing alone looking so happy?" Pei Qian sighed and said he was like her parents. He hoped she'd go back to Pioneer Group and stop working on the game because it had no future. Hearing that, Lin Wan asked if her parents had come to see him. She thought he was worried she'd worked too hard, but she wasn't that fragile. She even planned to make an English version for a global release. Pei Qian quickly tried to stop her, telling her to take time for herself and begging her to go home. Lin Wan just replied that she'd visit home in a few days and ask her family for more good ideas for the game. Back at his tent, he complained that he was getting closer to the edge of bankruptcy. When Ma Yang called him for a party, he hung up, but he ended up showing up anyway because he didn't have enough money for a fancy meal anymore. Sitting next to him, Ma Yang happily said the new plan he wrote with Zhang Wang wasn't approved by Assistant Xian yet, and he asked for help. He said if things stayed like this, the 20 million that just hit the account would have nowhere to be spent. Hearing that, Pei Qian grabbed Ma Yang's collar and asked why the money didn't go straight to his own card. Ma Yang explained a gym owner liked the sloth model and paid 20 million for a franchise. Everyone suggested taking a success photo. Everyone smiled brightly, except for Pei Qian, who looked soul-crushed. As for the owner who invested 20 million, it was Li Shi. He toasted to a portrait of Pei Qian, praying that as long as Pei Qian eats the meat, he can just have a soup, as long as they both make a profit. Right after that, Li Shi personally went to Mingyan Manor to find Pei Qian. As soon as they met, Pei Qian bluntly told him not to buy him dinner next time, just wire the money directly. Li Shi laughed and said he had invited Pei Qian to Min Fu many times but was always turned down, so today he decided to just show up at the nameless kitchen himself. He even caught a fish with his own hands. Pei Qian sighed and complained that he had just taken a massive hit in life and hit rock bottom. He worried he wouldn't last more than a few months and might even have to cut his house payments. Hearing that, Li Shi comforted him, saying that having cash flow issues in business is totally normal. He casually mentioned that the 20 million franchise fee for Sloth Gym should have hit the account by now, hoping it would help Pei Qian out. That's when Pei Qian realized the 20 million was from Li Shi. He was instantly furious, not understanding why the money went to the company account instead of his personal bank account. Li Shi curiously asked if Pei Qian could leak his next investment plan. Pei Qian said Jinshan was still missing a certain project, the kind that looks like a disaster but would be enough to save his life while blowing through Li Shi's 20 million. Ordinary projects couldn't save him anymore. Now, he needed a Hail Mary project. The bigger the project, the better. The more investment, the better. After hearing that, Li Shi thought for a second and said he might have an idea. Right after, Pei Qian got the idea to build a luxury apartment complex in a remote area. When he went to check it out, he saw the shell of a building was totally isolated with no one around. So he bought the whole building on the spot, which completely shocked Xiao Chui. Next, he gave the project to designer Liang, saying the unit at Jiayuan was personal, but the Tanda units were for the family. Hearing that, Designer Liang realized this was a super rich client and promised not to let him down. Pei Qian demanded that all the furniture be the most luxurious kind and that every appliance must use the latest high-end tech. Hearing that, Designer Liang cautiously mentioned that the costs would be massive. Pei Qian told him not to worry and to just go ahead and spend big. This time, he didn't want the best. He just wanted the most expensive. With Tengda backing the project, the pay would never be late. However, he made a super weird request. No wallpaper, no flooring, and no paint. The walls and floors had to stay as raw concrete to follow a minimalist industrial style. He even strictly banned tenants from fixing up the place themselves, forcing them to keep the original look. He named the project Bare Walls. As he saw Designer Liang out, Pei Qian emphasized that he should spend money freely because Tengda was backing him and he absolutely shouldn't save a dime. Just then, Lin Wan walked in and said that now that Turn Back as a Shore was doing well, she had a draft for a new game called Mountain Sea Gods and asked him to check it out. Pei Qian immediately shut his laptop and told her there was no rush. He suggested she should go rest at Sloth Gym more. Lin Wan said she wasn't too tired and just wanted to see if the plan was okay. Pei Qian sighed and said, "Since Tengda started, we've released 4 games and every single one was a hit. It makes me wonder if we really have the potential to make a blockbuster or if we even deserve a success." Lin Wan replied that most people think they're geniuses every time they make a game, but because he knows how to self-reflect, he is already better than 99% of the people in the industry. Seeing him dodging the question, she asked bluntly, "Don't you want to make a new game?" Pei Qian said he'd look at the plan, but told her she should think more and work less. Lin Wan sighed, thinking her idea was too weak, and that's why he wasn't interested. Bao Su spoke up as the lead playtester, saying that based on his gaming gut, if she followed her current logic for Mountain Sea Gods, it would definitely be a success. Ming Liang agreed, saying as soon as the boss looks at the plan, he LLC it's exactly what he wants. The encouragement gave Lin Wan her drive back. She immediately asked Ming Liang and Bao Su to team up with her, determined to make a game that Pei Qian couldn't find a single flaw in. Pei Qian saw the Bare Walls apartments as his final gamble. He was determined not to let the staff turn his loss into a profit again, so he decided to create a department just to manage them. Right after that, Pei Qian put on a disguise wearing glasses and looking like a fortune teller and quietly found Ishu. He whispered a very important mission to her. He said everything she needed to do was in a bag he had prepared. He finished his instructions and left immediately. A while later, Designer Liang took Pei Qian to inspect the apartments, which were finished exactly as requested. Seeing the work met his standards, Pei Qian praised him nonstop. Then he turned to Xiao Chui and said all the units could only be rented, not sold. Plus, he banned roommates and short-term leases. Every unit had to be rented for at least 10 years and paid in one lump sum. At the same time, his plan with Ishu began. Pei Qian arranged for her to intern in every single department at Tengda. His real goal was for a jinx like Ishu to ruin everyone's workflow so they couldn't focus, giving the company a chance to finally lose money. After a while, Ishu called to ask if she should keep being the intern admin because everyone was going out of their way to avoid her. Pei Qian thought about it and told her to stop for now. Then he told the whole staff the good news, they could move into the Bare Walls apartments. He was incredibly happy inside. The project had cost so much money that it looked like the day he could fix up his own house at Jiayuan was coming soon. The next day, a big bus took the whole staff to the apartment complex. Everyone got off the bus and couldn't stop praising him. They all thought Pei Qian was like a saint, being unbelievably kind. As soon as Pei Qian opened his door and stepped out, he ran into Ma Yang. He didn't let Ma Yang inside and quickly made an excuse to drag him downstairs for a walk. But the moment the elevator doors opened, Li Shi appeared, leaving Pei Qian stunned and wondering why the guy was there. Li Shi casually said he heard Pei Qian was moving in with his staff, so he also paid for a 10-year lease and moved in. Hearing that, Pei Qian was speechless. Li Shi added that while the apartments didn't look profitable now, he trusted Pei Qian's vision and had even called a bunch of his friends to rent units there too. Pei Qian quickly tried to stop him, telling him not to bring more people, but Li Shi was already hyped. He was planning to take over the nearby abandoned factories and turn them into an industrial-style art district. Pei Qian tried to explain his plan wasn't reliable, but Li Shi stayed firm. He said everything he learned was just theory, but seeing Pei Qian's real-world moves made him a total believer. If the market expanded, Pei Qian would eat the meat while Li Shi would take the scraps. Either way, neither would lose. Ma Yang got annoyed listening to this and immediately started bickering with Li Shi. Pei Qian tried to step in, but the two of them pushed him aside. He had to sit in the back while they yelled at each other all over the house. One called the other old man, and the other shot back with long face. They argued over a tiny thing from afternoon until night. They were exhausted but kept attacking each other from the couch. Over an hour passed, and neither would give in, giving Pei Qian such a headache that he had to jump in to stop them. The next morning, when Lin Wan got into the elevator and saw all three of them, she asked if anyone heard shouting last night because she couldn't sleep at all. The three of them looked at each other and stayed silent. No one dared to admit it. When Li Shi tried to get into Tengda's private car, Ma Yang blocked him right away and asked, "This is a company car, what are you getting in for?" Li Shi casually replied that, in his mind, he had joined Tengda a long time ago, and he'd even be willing to buy a ticket. Ma Yang refused to let him in, and the two started bickering again. Pei Qian found them too noisy, so he just pushed both of them out and didn't let anyone get on the car. Even though they were standing on the street, they still wouldn't give an inch. That night, back at the apartment, Pei Qian asked Ma Yang if he had any plans for the future. Ma Yang said he just wanted to do a good job at Tengda and never leave for the rest of his life. Pei Qian asked, what if one day Tengda is gone? Ma Yang was shocked, thinking the company was growing so well, so how could it just disappear? Hearing that, Pei Qian just stayed silent, feeling a heavy weight in his heart. The next morning, Assistant Xian reported that the Bare Walls project was losing a lot of money. If nothing changed by next week's audit, he would finally be set for life financially. Pei Qian said calmly that now that the day was actually coming, he felt very peaceful. He originally just wanted to lose all the capital and quit, but he never expected it to drag on this long. He was tired now, having a new house for his parents, and Ishi was enough for him. He knew that all good things must come to an end. He had reached his goal, and didn't he want to be greedy? Assistant Xian believed that Chairman Sima would respect his decision. Pei Qian told her that after Tengda disbanded, the staff should keep using the Bare Walls apartments as a final compensation. After that, he went to say goodbye to each employee. After this deal, he would leave Tengda forever. Everyone was still chatting happily, totally unaware of what was happening. The next morning, while Pei Qian was still asleep, Ma Yang banged on the door, saying people were here to cause trouble. He jumped up and rushed out, but it wasn't trouble at all. It was a huge crowd asking Xiao Chui if there were any empty rooms for rent. Designer Liang saw Pei Qian and excitedly reported that many other newly decorated apartments were failing their chemical safety tests. Long-term rentals were having issues too, and he finally understood why Pei Qian chose the Bare Walls design. Every one of Pei Qian's requests met the highest eco-friendly standards. Xiao Chui also ran over to congratulate him. Pei Qian grabbed him by the collar and asked why there were so many people. Xiao Chui said that right now, only the Bare Walls apartments offered 10-year long-term leases, so everyone was fighting for them. Pei Qian froze on the spot. Luckily, Ma Yang caught him before he fell. Soon, the Bare Walls apartments went viral all over the internet. The fame came from really weird points. The floors and all four walls were just rough cement with zero fancy decorations, but every piece of furniture inside was top tier and perfectly safe for health. To celebrate, the whole Tengda staff gathered in one apartment for a big party. The atmosphere was loud, with laughter everywhere, and everyone was hyped. Only Pei Qian sat quietly in a corner, miserable because his plan had failed once again. Li Shi handed him a beer and told everyone that as long as they followed Boss Pei, they'd never lose. Ma Yang wouldn't be outdone and shoved another beer into his hand. When he heard the news of the success, Pei Qian almost fainted. Ma Yang was about to give him CPR when Pei Qian jumped right back up. The whole room burst into laughter and raised their glasses to toast him. The happier everyone else was, the more Pei Qian trembled. He totally didn't understand why fate was trolling him like this. A while later, Lin Wan remarked that the boss had been in a bad mood lately because he was secretly trying to fix the Bare Wall situation. Hearing that, Pei Qian was speechless. To the others, the sun was coming out after the rain, but to him, it was still pitch black. Right then, Zibo brought Huyu to meet everyone. He introduced her as the one who came up with the idea to make review videos for long-term rentals. She exposed poor quality apartments, which helped people see how much Bare Walls cared about the environment. Pei Qian immediately realized his list of disasters had added one more person, Huyu. Huyu held Zibo's hand and shared that she used to be a web novelist with 0 readers, but Ishu advised her to switch to social media, which led to her big break. Seeing them, Baosu complained that seeing Zibo with such a pretty girlfriend hurt more than being killed. The room laughed and kept toasting. Only Pei Qian sat there blankly, chugging 2 beers that felt like sour lemon juice in his throat. When the party ended, everyone went back to their rooms, leaving Pei Qian sitting alone. Just then, Pei Qian got a voice message from his mom. His parents had just seen the news about the Bare Walls apartments. They kept talking about how those other toxic apartments were hurting people and praised his boss for having both great taste and a good heart. Pei Qian just sighed and checked his bank account. His balance was exactly $47, which made him even sadder. The next morning, he rode his bike to Mingyan Manor, hoping to find a quiet place to clear his head. He didn't expect to see a crowd like never before. It was packed and noisy, looking like a busy tourist spot. He quickly asked Ajun why the manor had turned into this. Ajun explained, "You haven't been here in a while, so you don't know. Ever since our private kitchen got famous, a TV crew noticed us and even invited Baijiao to film a reality show called Beautiful Manor. The show is a huge hit right now, so the crowds are getting bigger every day." Pei Qian never expected a single game show to turn Mingyan Manor into this. Ajun added that Li Shi saw how popular the show was and invested in the manor, planning to turn it into a cultural tourism project. Hearing this, Pei Qian immediately knew his next disaster was Li Shi. He stood dazed among the swarming crowds, his mind going blank. Later, he met with Sima, feeling certain that all of this was a trap set for him. How could those random projects keep succeeding? Someone must be pulling the strings. He even wondered who he had offended in the past to be tortured like this. As he spoke, he teared up, took a sip of tea, and decided right then and there to quit for good. As he was about to leave, he remembered he still had a flight, so he asked Assistant Xian to help him buy a ticket home. Right after that, Pei Qian went back to the bare walls apartment to pack his clothes. Just then, assistant Xian texted him a reminder. He could leave, but he couldn't take the company car or the apartment keys with him. Still, she said the company would always welcome him back. After packing his stuff, Pei Qian left without looking back. After leaving Tengda, he took his CV and started looking for a job. He stopped at a tiny online clothing shop, but the owner looked at his resume and said his experience was all in gaming, while they wanted someone with experience in their field. Pei Qian walked out with a CV, thinking to himself that even a tiny shop like that checked resumes so carefully. He continued to a TV station to apply, introducing his strength as really liking movies, which left the director speechless. The director said their project was just about to film, but the platform switched to short films, so the plan fell through. He then asked Pei Qian to help him move some stuff. Sitting at a street food stall, Pei Qian sadly called Ma Yang to borrow some money. Ma Yang was super surprised that a big boss like him had to borrow cash. Pei Qian explained that he had put all his money into a fund and couldn't withdraw it for now, promising to pay him back soon. Ma Yang transferred the money right away and told him not to rush. Even though he finished paying this month's apartment installment, he's still worried about how to handle next month. Right then, a recruiter called for a meeting. A guy named Wu Xian introduced himself as a headhunter, reaching out because he saw Pei Qian used to work at Tengda. Plus, Pei Qian was the only employee to leave the company in many years. Hearing that, he just gave a bitter smile. When Wu Xian said he was a great fit for Tianhua, Pei Qian choked on his water. But after hearing the guy's reasons, he realized he actually did fit in better at Tianhua. Chanjua brought the news to Mayan, saying they had asked a headhunter for an experienced planner, and now someone was recommended. But what made him suspicious was that the candidate was Pei Qian from Tengda. Chanjua immediately thought Pei Qian might have paid off the headhunter to put on a show for some shady reason, so he planned to kick him out. Mayan wasn't in a hurry. He decided to play along and give Pei Qian a few days as an intern to see what he was up to and dig up Tengda's secrets. Chanjua followed the orders. Ma Yang couldn't reach Pei Qian. He wasn't at the office or home. Since the last call was just to borrow money, he feared Pei Qian was being hidden away. He even asked Assistant Xian where she was hiding Pei Qian and said he was ready to pay a ransom. Assistant Xian was speechless and had to announce to the whole staff that Boss Pei was out handling a big project. Everyone just kept working like normal, expecting him back in a few days. Over at Tianhua, Pei Qian was busy serving tea and water to Mayan, promising he would never do anything to hurt the company and that he really needed this paycheck. Mayan let him stay, but required him to follow the rules and perform well during his internship. Pei Qian agreed instantly and asked to keep his job at Tianhua a secret, which Mayan accepted. Chanjua led Pei Qian to his seat, saying the company and Mayan valued him, so they gave him a bigger spot than the others. This public space would be counted as an expense. Once he became a full-time employee, if the profit he made beat those costs, he'd get a bonus. As soon as the employees saw him, they started whispering, realizing this was Boss Pei from Tengda, wondering why he was working at Tianhua. Pei Qian just bowed his head to avoid them. Dongli walked up to confirm his identity, but Pei Qian immediately denied it, saying if he were really Boss Pei, he wouldn't be working there, he just looked like him. Dongli went back to his desk. Not long after, Mayan called Pei Qian over to give him a task. Write a report sharing his experience making games at Tengda, analyzing the pros and cons of each game, and summarizing the reasons for success and any flaws. It had to be done by the next day. Pei Qian was speechless but had to get to work right away. The next morning, Pei Qian presented the report on Tengda's game history to Chenjua and Mayan. Mayan glanced through it and asked for a verbal report. Pei Qian started analyzing, saying The Lonely Road was actually a rejected project. The production was scary and cheap, and the mechanics were a mess, yet it somehow became famous. Outside, Dongli saw him speaking so confidently like an expert and thought Boss Pei was sent there to train them. Pei Qian continued, telling Mayan that Divine General Contract was just an outdated card game. Ma Yang designed the characters and Guangjin did the art, yet people still played it. Mayan thought the game's success came from the $10 membership and the 100 free daily draws, giving players the thrill of getting an SSR without spending much. Pei Qian realized Mayan had played the game too. That night, seeing Dongli still working overtime, Pei Qian quietly gave him a bottle of water and asked him to check his PPT. Dongli happily agreed, but after looking at it, he said the content was too basic to present and suggested he look into the VIP systems. Pei Qian scratched his head, admitting he'd been away from Fuhui too long and his skills were rusty. Dongli curiously asked if he was really Boss Pei. He told him to just say if he had a plan, and he'd keep it a secret. He just hoped if Pei Qian ever took over Tianhua, he wouldn't get fired. He wasn't even 35 but looked like he was 65. Meanwhile, at a hot pot place, Chenjua noted that Pei Qian was being a good boy making PPTs, while Mayan thought he was just a great actor because he stayed up all night working on them. The next morning, Pei Qian walked into the meeting room looking like a wreck, looking like a total mess. He still had to report to Chenjua and Mayan about Tengda's games. In his presentation, Pei Qian analyzed why the 4 games succeeded. According to him, the core tactic was catching the user's psychology. The breakthrough was decoding their minds. The main competitive edge was adjusting player needs through self-learning design to filter content and upgrade gameplay. Because of that, They built a multi-dimensional market where countless players became links in a social chain. After he finished, he handed over a detailed file he'd prepared. Mayan looked it over and said he did a great job, then told him they had another meeting. He told Pei Qian to go back to work and come up with a plan for a new game. That night, while drafting a plan for Tianhua, a thought popped into his head. Before, he made money because his logic was always aimed at losing money, which accidentally found a shortcut for the products. Looking back, he felt his success was partly due to his own skills, and his employees were just following orders. It wasn't their fault. Pei Qian was suddenly curious about what the Tengda crew was doing. To his surprise, they were all at a bar, partying and dancing like crazy. Assistant Xian showed up with a completely different look, dressed like Queen Cleopatra. When Lin Wan wondered where Boss Pei had been lately, Bao Su guessed the boss was probably out enriching himself. The next morning, Pei Qian gave Mayan 2 new plans. After looking them over, Mayan said the content was too ordinary and lacked creativity, making it hard to connect with players. Pei Qian explained that he used to use reverse thinking to design, but this time, fearing it wouldn't fit their style, he prepared 2 different options. However, Mayan still didn't believe him. Pei Qian had to say, the success of the previous games was a team effort by Tengda's staff. I couldn't have done it alone. Seeing the tension, Chenjua stepped in and told him to go back to work. He also mentioned their new project was short on people and asked Pei Qian to refer some old friends to help. Pei Qian thought those people wouldn't come to Tianhua because they were like greenhouse flowers and couldn't handle the harsh environment there. Meanwhile, while Lin Wan was working out, she got a message in the group chat that Tianhua was recruiting. The next morning, Wu Xian went straight to her to invite her to work there. Lin Wan calmly talked about the perks at Tengda, an in-house canteen, free gym memberships, free apartments, and long vacations, things Tianhua didn't have. Wu Xian immediately offered to double her salary, but Lin Wan just showed him her current payslip. He was stunned. He had never seen an employee in the industry get such a high-tier package. Wu Xian even asked if Tengda was hiring. Over at Tianhua, Chenjua told Mayan that even with double pay, no one would join. He was sure Pei Qian was pulling strings behind their backs. He hadn't turned in a game plan, and he wouldn't lend them any staff. Mayan admitted it was a bit of a letdown, but he figured keeping Pei Qian around was more trouble than it was worth. Chenjua decided to find a nice way to kick him out. Right after that, Chenjua intentionally held Pei Qian up outside, so he'd be marked late for roll call. Then, Chenjua kept finding excuses to dock Pei Qian's pay. In just one day, his internship stipend was almost completely gone, making him so sad he almost cried. The next day, Pei Qian wasn't given any work at all. He just sat there, having no clue what Tianhua was up to. When Chenjua announced a project meeting, Pei Qian thought he finally had something to do, but Chenjua purposely blocked him from joining. Instead, he sent him to buy coffee with a super weird ice and sugar order just to mess with him. Pei Qian was pissed but couldn't do anything about it. At Tengda, Lin Wan arrived but still didn't see Pei Qian. She thought about texting him but didn't know how to start the conversation. While scrolling online, she saw a photo of him at Tianhua and rushed over. She caught him out buying stuff and asked what was going on. He tried to dodge the question and walk away, but she stayed right on his heels. Having no choice, Pei Qian pulled Lin Wan onto a balcony to avoid prying eyes. Even though she was out of breath, she kept asking why he was at Tianhua. He just said it was a long story. He heard Tianhua was scary, but now he was actually living the nightmare. Lin Wan agreed that the place didn't just make blood-sucking games, but also treated staff like garbage. Pei Qian told her he kept getting fined just for forgetting his ID badge. She advised him to go to HR, buy a bunch of extra badges for $50 each, and pin them to every single outfit, so he'd never forget again. Following her advice, Pei Qian hurried back with the coffee. Meanwhile, Lin Wan was still annoyed because she still didn't know his real reason for being at Tianhua. After returning to the Bear Walls apartments, Lin Wan told Ma Yang, Bao Su, and Zibo that Pei Qian was working at Tianhua. This news left the group even more confused. No one knew what his goal was. Zibo figured Boss Pei always worked in the shadows, and then dropped a bombshell later. He said it was best not to bother him and just wait for good news. Back at Tianhua, when Pei Qian brought the coffee in, he saw Dongli lying there motionless, looking like he was dead. He turned pale, thinking something terrible had happened. Suddenly, an alarm went off, and Dongli and the others jumped right up, scaring Pei Qian half to death. Turns out they had been in a meeting until 5 a.m., lived too far away, and had to clock in again in less than 3 hours, so they just slept at the office. Seeing Dongli using his phone to write a report, Pei Qian offered to help since he had nothing to do. Dongli was grateful but said no, explaining that management had banned Pei Qian from touching any projects. Hearing that, Pei Qian went straight to Mayan and asked bluntly if the company was still suspicious of him. His internship was almost up. If they didn't give him work, weren't they just setting him up to get fired? Mayan said the new game was mostly done, and he'd let Pei Qian test it. The mission: beat Eternal Reincarnation in 24 hours. Pei Qian was hyped to start, but he failed over and over. He screamed poems until his throat was hoarse but still couldn't win. He realized the difficulty was way beyond 99% of games on the market. It was almost impossible to beat. Exhausted, he drifted off. In his dream, Mayan and Chenjua kept appearing, trashing him for being useless and not treating the company like home. Panicking, he saw Seymour appear, telling him to just come back if he couldn't take it. Pei Qian jumped awake and realized it was all a dream. After pulling an all-nighter, looping through the game and reciting poems until his throat burned, Pei Qian finally beat the level. He was so happy he was staggering. When he opened the door, the morning sun hit him, and he felt like he'd been brought back to life. He ran to tell Mayan he'd finished the task, but when he saw Dongli inside reporting, he stopped outside the door. There, he accidentally overheard the conversation. Dongli had been late twice because his family was sick, but Chen Zhua didn't care at all. He coldly asked if excuses could put food on the table. He claimed everyone worked hard, and if explanations created value, Dongli would be the top guy in the company. Dongli tearfully said, "If I lose this job, my family won't survive. I've been at Tianhua since graduation. Even if I'm not a hero, I've put in the years. You can't treat me like this just because I'm almost 35. Chen Zhua handed him a quarterly layoff evaluation. Dongli was at the bottom for poor performance, so according to company standards, he was useless. Mayan advised him to just go home and adjust if he was tired. When Dongli realized he wasn't even getting severance pay, he was stunned. Pei Qian couldn't take it anymore. He kicked the door open, turned on his voice recorder, and bluntly pointed out that tricking an employee into quitting to avoid severance was a massive violation of labor laws. He listed the rules. To fire someone under Article 39, you had to prove they failed their internship, seriously broke rules, committed fraud, or had another job that affected their main work. Dongli didn't fit any of those. If they forced him out, they had to give a month's notice or an extra month's pay, plus severance based on his years of service, 1 month's pay for every year. Since they didn't give notice today, they owed him N+1. Having no choice, Mayan told HR to do as Pei Qian said, claiming Tianhua always follows the law. Chen Zhua angrily announced that Pei Qian was fired. Pei Qian just calmly wished them well and declared he was quitting, then pulled Dongli out of the office with his head held high. The other employees clapped nonstop, praising them for standing up for their rights. Dongli asked where they were going next. Pei Qian paused and admitted he didn't know yet. Dongli went back to pack his things, thanking Pei Qian for helping him get a severance. Right after that, Pei Qian followed the GPS sent by Assistant Xin to meet Sima. But when he arrived, all he saw was a super old, rundown building in a sketchy neighborhood. He called to check, thinking the location was wrong, but the map pointed right at that building. Having no choice, Pei Qian took the stairs. After countless floors, his legs were jelly, and he was gasping for air. But when he reached the rooftop, the view completely changed. It was a peaceful and beautiful space, totally hidden from the mess below. Entering a retro-style room, he was staring at every detail until he spotted Sima sitting on the sofa, which gave him a fright. Pei Qian said he wanted to go back to Tengda, and asked why a rich guy like Sima lived in such a weird, hard-to-find spot. Sima calmly said, "I grew up here. No matter how much money I have, I don't forget my roots. Only by living with the people do I know what is happening in the world every day." Hearing that, Pei Qian blurted out, "Your hometown is like mine, no elevators, just stairs." Right then, a private jet soared into the sky, making the moment feel very intense. The next day, when Pei Qian returned to Tengda, the entire staff was lined up in 2 perfect rows to welcome him. Everyone shouted together, "Welcome home, Boss Pei." Behind him was Dongli. Seeing this, Ming Liang immediately figured that the trip to Tianhua was actually a headhunting mission. Dongli also mentioned he was fired by Tianhua, and luckily, Boss Pei took him in. Right after that, everyone gave him a warm welcome to the company. The happy vibe made Pei Qian feel good too. When he stepped into his office and saw it had been redecorated, he was totally surprised. Ma Yang said, "While you were at Tianhua, everyone helped clean up. They told me not to let you get too emotional." That kind of care really touched Pei Qian. Shortly after, Ishu came in to report on the management trainees. Pei Qian decided to put that on hold and let the interns move between departments to gain more experience, and Ishu took the order immediately. A bit later, Lin Wan's group came to ask Pei Qian's opinion on a new project. He just calmly said their skills were good enough, and they should just decide for themselves. Next, Zibo came to propose starting a film studio to develop their own novels and turn them into TV shows. Pei Qian agreed right away. Seeing this, Zibo was super hyped and promised not to let him down. After being exploited at Tianhua, Pei Qian suddenly realized the truth. Just retiring at Tengda and collecting a steady $5,000 a month without any fines was the ideal life. So, he started a slash-youth plan. Basically, he secretly used the company car to run a taxi service for extra cash. But before he could enjoy the profit for long, Assistant Xin caught him. She strictly reminded him that using a company car to make money was against the rules. The car belonged to the company, and if he did it again, she'd take the keys back. Hearing that, Pei Qian was speechless with anger. When all the employees had left for the day, only Lin Wan was still grinding away at the office. Assistant Xin went over to check on her. Lin Wan said Mountain Sea Gods was finally in the works, but Tianhua was pushing rumors that the company had no new games, so she had to work as hard as she could. Assistant Xin told her not to push herself too hard. Since someone else was carrying the load, she should make time for her own life. Then, she dragged her to a club to relax. Lin Wan remembered seeing Assistant Xin there before and always thought she was someone who put work first. But now she realized everyone praised her for being good at her job, but no one cared how she was actually doing. Work is just for making money, Life is what belongs to you. Then Assistant Xian asked, what if one day you found out Boss Pei or Tengda weren't what you imagined? Lin Wan insisted that could never happen. When Tianhua tried to headhunt her, she only planned to say a few words to the recruiter, but the guy ended up wanting to jump ship to Tengda instead. That's when she realized how great the company was. In her eyes, Boss Pei wouldn't change. Before, at Tianhua, it was just purely working, but after coming to this company, things felt different. Assistant Xian just gently reminded her not to be too serious. People can always be different from what we think. Since Pei Qian couldn't use the company car for his side hustle anymore, he switched to an e-bike to run deliveries. On the road, his phone kept ringing with employees asking about all sorts of things, and he just gave short Oklahoma, no problem replies. Getting his approval, Lin Wan's group was thrilled. Guangjin remarked that their ideas were brilliant and made the characters unique. The traveler character in the game was inspired by Bao Su, and Lin Wan hoped Mountain Sea Gods would become a creative multiplayer online game. Players could freely switch characters to explore the world, pick jobs, and build their own strategies to beat dungeons. Among them was a cultivator from the east, a powerful battle mage with a passive skill called Reluctant Traveler. When standing still, the character could fully recover HP and mana very quickly without using items, but once they moved, their HP would constantly drop while their rage meter filled up. Once it hit the limit, they'd enter a super dangerous rage state. Another character was Feng Moku, a painter knight with a romantic soul who put his life into his paintings and lived as a hermit. His weapon was a large brush, and through wild calligraphy, he could summon storms to fight. Bao Su felt this character seemed even stronger than his own, but Lin Wan explained that every character had their own pros and cons. In the current version, the strongest character was still the Justice Protector, a hero who could shield the whole team from wind and rain and soak up all the damage. His passive skill made his defense go up quickly when attacked, and it turned spent gold into active skills. His ultimate, self-sufficiency, pushed his tankiness to the absolute limit. This character was based on Pei Qian. Ironically, the hero the employees looked up to was currently out there riding an e-bike for extra cash. At a coffee shop, Zibo was waiting for the author of the CEO's Secret Crush novel. After twice mistaking the wrong person, he sighed, and then Wu Shi and Wu Sheng showed up, admitting they were the authors. The novel was based on the story between Pei Qian and Lin Wan. They were worried Boss Pei would find out they were writing on the clock, but Zibo reassured them the boss would definitely support it. He had even asked and gotten the green light. Wu Shi even suggested Zibo join the writing team, and they did give him co-author rights under the pen name Tian Yen. At Mingyan Manor, Zibo welcomed director Zhuang and told him Boss Pei was on his way and just a bit late because of traffic. When Pei Qian arrived on his e-bike, 2 security guards helped him park. He rushed in to talk to the director about the project. The director felt the biggest problem with the current script was that it was too small-scale and lacked a wow factor. According to him, a TV show needs 3 key things: pain points, emotion, and resonance, plus a clear theme. The most important part was making the audience feel the pain. So, he suggested switching the project entirely to sci-fi, with a massive budget and at least an S+ rating, maybe even filming 3 seasons in a row. He said the first book he ever read was about UFOs, so sci-fi was his specialty. With the latest filming tech, he wanted to dive straight into the blue ocean of the film industry. He already had a name picked out: AI CEO, to the edge of the universe with you. When the director stepped out, Zibo looked worried because he didn't really trust him. Pei Qian asked why he picked this guy. Zibo explained it was the studio's first film, so they needed to make a splash. Other directors were either suddenly busy or seemed sketchy. Only director Zhuang had the right timing. Hearing that, Pei Qian decided to just go with him. The director came back, and Pei Qian expressed his hope that they stick to the core spirit of the original story, promising to support the creative process unconditionally. Director Zhuang swore that this project would definitely blow people's minds. The next morning, Zibo complained to Ma Yang that to make the project a hit, the director insisted on hiring an A-list celebrity. Ma Yang told him to stay cool and said he'd figure it out, but after calling a bunch of talent agencies, nobody was interested in the role. Eventually, Zibo realized that Bai Jiao didn't give a damn about the art. He just wanted a massive paycheck. At Mingyan Manor, Mandy told Zibo that Bai Jiao usually only does movies and rarely takes TV roles. However, since their last collab went well, they were willing to give his project a shot. Right away, Bai Jiao pointed out some issues. He argued that the AI CEO script focused too much on the female lead, which didn't make sense for a powerful CEO character. He said the story should focus on the CEO's growth and how he eventually dominates the entire universe. Hearing this, Zibo went home and pulled all-nighter studying sci-fi movies to rewrite the script. But the next morning, Mandy told director Zhuang that the core logic of the story was broken. She said the characters were too one-dimensional, the first 6 episodes were boring, and it got repetitive with cheat code powers later on. Plus, she felt the beginning and the end didn't connect, and the sci-fi elements were too small. Just then, director Wang called. Mandy repeated almost the exact same critiques to him that she just gave to director Zhuang. It became obvious that she was a total fraud with 0 experience, just using a one-size-fits-all feedback template to pressure every project. Bai Jiao then switched gears and said he actually liked the high fantasy genre more, something like Game of Thrones. Hearing that, Zibo stayed up for several more days, rewriting the whole thing into a new series called The Northern Demon King. I Only Love You Through 3 Lifetimes. But after reading it, Bai Jiao said there were too many fantasy shows out there now and the audience was bored. He suggested upgrading it to a magical fantasy theme instead. Even though Zibo was boiling inside, he gritted his teeth and kept editing. He wrote day and night until he had massive panda eyes, but he didn't quit and finally finished it. Surprisingly, the next day, Mandy called to say Bai Jiao's new movie was coming out and he wasn't chasing views anymore, so the role didn't fit their plan. They decided to pass. Hearing the news, Zibo was furious and walked away. Right after that, Zibo tearfully complained to Ma Yang and Pei Qian that he had spent days and nights writing the script, but the guy stood them up. He had no idea when the cameras would finally start rolling. Pei Qian calmly said, "There's no need to bet everything on one horse. If he is not coming, just change the lead actor." Zibo was worried that if they switched again, they'd be left with amateurs. But Pei Qian argued that acting is what matters, and being an amateur doesn't mean nobody will watch. Ma Yang remembered that Hua had once asked for an investment from Yuan Meng. Even though he had never been a lead before, at least he wouldn't mess with the script. Zibo also mentioned that the female lead, Mo San, was ready to join. Hearing that, Pei Qian immediately decided to pick Hua as the male lead. The next morning, when director Zhuang saw Hua's acting, he just sighed and asked if there were any other actors. But as soon as he heard Zibo was going to try negotiating with Bai Jiao again, he immediately changed his tune. He started praising Hua, saying his acting wasn't bad at all, and decided to cast him. He even claimed that one day, Hua would be more famous than Bai Jiao. Ma Yang immediately ran up to congratulate Hua, while director Zhuang sat there in stunned silence, looking like he was in shock. Zibo was also exhausted and felt sick. Right after that, Zibo found Lin Wan's group and swore that Pei Qian was out working as a designated driver. Hearing this, everyone was even more confused, having no clue what big plan he was secretly cooking up. To check if it was true, Lin Wan booked a driving service right away. When Pei Qian arrived on his e-bike, she asked him directly if he was really working as a private driver and what he was trying to achieve. Pei Qian just casually said he was simply experiencing life. Did she really think he was broke? After he drove Lin Wan to her destination, he was about to leave, but she invited him for a walk. On the way, Lin Wan asked if he was preparing to enter a new industry, but Pei Qian told her not to overthink things. She mentioned that his part-time driving job made it hard to find him at the office. Pei Qian replied that he had already given her full control over the work. Lin Wan sighed and reminded him of what he once said. Making games requires creativity, modern value, and deep thought. Pei Qian told her to think about why people actually play games. Lin Wan replied that sometimes reality is too heavy and people need a shelter. Pei Qian said, "You can't escape forever, but you can take a nap and have a beautiful dream. To move others, you first have to move yourself. Only real emotions can't be copied. I believe that with your ideals and feelings, you'll definitely make it." Hearing that, Lin Wan smiled and felt a lot lighter. She asked, "Can I call you to drive me in the future?" Pei Qian just sighed and said it was up to her. When he got a new order, he jumped on his e-bike and took off. Lin Wan told Bao Su and Ming Liang that besides the official platform work, Pei Qian was also doing offline driving, so she booked his services for the whole month, so he could drive her while they talk shop every day. The next morning, as soon as Zibo walked into the office, Bao Su told him that Bai Jiao was trending again. Zibo opened the video and saw a hidden camera clip from a new movie set. Bai Jiao was wearing a wig but was trying way too hard to keep his idol image. When he read some news, he got angry and slapped a coffee cup out of his assistant's hand. As soon as he realized he was being filmed, he immediately changed his face and acted all calm. Bao Su said the actor tried too hard to look good, but the movie flopped. People called him box office poison, and Bai Jiao had to quit social media. Ming Liang mentioned that the guy kept causing trouble on set and was eventually replaced. Zibo felt satisfied because that guy had put him through hell. Right then, Mandy, Bai Jiao's manager, called Zibo at Mingyan Manor. She said bluntly that they didn't like that other film crew, so after thinking it over, they wanted to give Zibo's team a second chance. While Bai Jiao was in the restroom, director Zhuang whispered to Zibo that nobody was paying attention to their new movie online. Even though Hua was cooperating, he was a nobody. If Bai Jiao joined, at least he'd bring some traffic. Zibo argued that the guy was being mocked by the whole internet, but director Zhuang sighed and said that was still better than losing money. When Bai Jiao came back, Zibo said the wizard role was already cast, but the crew had a better role, the Demon King. Even though it was a supporting role, the pay could be higher, and he did get a special guest star credit. Bai Jiao immediately acted like an expert and said, "The current script still has a lot of depth we can dig into." Director Zhuang whispered to Zibo that the guy clearly hadn't even read the script yet and was just talking nonsense, trying to puff things up to get more screen time. Bai Jiao kept pushing his ideas, saying the Demon King and the wizard were like frenemies with equal power, so they could totally turn it into a dual male lead story. Hearing the suggestion to change it to a dual lead, Zibo and director Zhuang were so mad they wanted to claw his face off, but they had to hold it in. Zibo had to excuse himself to the bathroom to calm down, then went back to his desk to grind away, rewriting the script to barely fit the idea. To his surprise, the next morning, Bai Jiao kept making new demands, wanting to change the wizard role to a female. Zibo immediately pushed back, saying it made no sense since the wizard was originally the male lead. Manny jumped in and said if they changed the original lead to a woman, paired her with a female lead, and added her client Bai Jiao's Demon King role to create a love triangle, it would definitely be a huge hit. Hearing this, Zibo was so mad he couldn't even speak. Right then, Shihua marched in with his crew, introducing himself as the lead of the movie, a famous actor named Shihua. Bai Jiao acted like he didn't even know who he was. Shihua immediately signaled his staff to hold up their phones, showing off his viral short videos. Zibo watched this mess and asked blankly, "Since when do you have a crew?" Shihua said everyone knows his agent. Then Mayang showed up, leaving Zibo completely speechless. Mayang proudly bragged that he was the one who spotted Shihua's unique vibe and invested in him, and all the short video collabs were his idea. They go viral the second they're posted. Zibo sighed helplessly, thinking one Bai Jiao was enough to make him miserable, and now Shihua was famous too. How was he supposed to survive? Mayang tried to calm him down, saying, "Shihua isn't the type to mess with the script. He is a very straightforward guy." Shihua told Bai Jiao straight up that he was now an official actor signed to a short video platform with tens of millions of followers. Did the other guy really want to fight him for the spotlight? Bai Jiao replied that he wasn't the type to care about billing. The script was what was sacred. He said he joined the project earlier, so he understood the number one lead better than anyone. Shihua got aggressive, saying, "I hate fake people like you. If you can act, act. If not, quit acting all high and mighty. To me, it's just a script. I'll change it too." Those words made Zibo really upset with Mayang, and he started drinking to forget his troubles. Mayang sighed and said, "I didn't expect Shihua to turn out like this, acting all cocky just because he is famous. Maybe Zibo should just quit." But Zibo shook his head, sharing how he worked his tail off at his old company without any credit until he met Boss Pei and found his worth. Fei Huang was his idea, so he couldn't let Boss Pei down. After that, Zibo stumbled away, wanting to keep writing the script, which worried Huyue. Mayang watched him go and thought that investing Yuan Meng money in someone like Zibo was the only way to make a profit. Then, a new idea popped into his head. A month later, Pei Qian checked his bank account and saw only $21 left. He sighed, realizing that even after working as a driver and paying off his mortgage, he still couldn't save a penny. Right then, Mayang showed up and dragged him to Yuan Meng to see something cool. There, Pei Qian saw Mayang had set up a page called Mayang Fulfillment and got curious. Mayang explained he was upgrading Yuan Meng to collect dreams publicly. Anyone with a dream could message him, and if it was approved, he'd send cash immediately. Seeing the page already had 300,000 followers, Pei Qian asked if he bought fake bots. Mayang said the numbers jumped overnight. At first, people didn't believe it, and when he went live, netizens thought he was a scammer and that the people getting money were just actors he hired. Unexpectedly, Mayang connected live with an official anti-fraud account to verify everything, which totally convinced everyone. Even after hearing that, Pei Qian still couldn't believe it blew up so fast. Mayang said that since Shihua bullied Zibo, he gave him a piece of his mind, which made Shihua feel guilty. So Shihua helped promote Mayang Fulfillment. He didn't expect the viral effect to be that strong. Watching Mayang just send money to one person after another made Pei Qian really annoyed. The person who actually needed help was him, but Mayang had no clue. He advised Mayang, "Don't spend your own money anymore. Let the company handle it." After saying that, Pei Qian went to the bathroom and used a fake name to message Mayang, pretending to be a struggling shop owner who only made $5,000 a month. He said he wanted to buy an $8,000 gift for his best friend, but didn't have enough and hoped for help. Mayang sent the money instantly, making Pei Qian super happy. Soon, Mayang Fulfillment hit the trending searches again, becoming the hottest topic. Pei Qian took another driving job for Linwan. While in the car, Linwan reported that the team just finished a new update for Mountain Sea Gods. Everything was smooth, and she just needed him to approve a budget increase. Pei Qian gave the green light immediately, even saying the budget was unlimited. From now on, he gave her full control over the game department to do whatever she wanted. Linwan was beyond excited. Pei Qian complained that since she booked him for a month through the driving company, he thought the pay was better than single orders, so he took it. But then he realized she wasn't a passenger, she just wanted a chance to talk shop. He was already tired from his daily work, and now he had to do 2 jobs at once. It clearly wasn't a good deal. Linwan thought Boss Pei's total immersion in his roles was what made people admire him and why his games were so good. Right then, a credit call came in asking about his loan history. He denied it, saying, "It's just a spam call. I'd never take out a loan." Then he asked her to cancel the monthly contract with the driving company because he wanted to keep experiencing life, and he trusted her to lead Tingda to greatness. Linwan agreed and called to cancel. Pei Qian finally let out a satisfied smile. At the same time, at a bar, Mayan told Li Shi that Eternal Reincarnation was finished and ready for launch. Since they'd always been crushed by Tangda, he was sure they'd flatten Pei Qian this time. Li Shi advised him not to go that far, saying Pei Qian was his friend, and this was just healthy competition. He'd be happy if Tianhua won, but Tangda was also legit. Seeing Li Shi had too much to drink, Mayan told Chinjua to call a driver. Mayan suggested Li Shi send his own driver home so he could drive him back and talk privately, and Li Shi agreed. Right then, Pei Qian was cruising and got a new order. Seeing it was a luxury car with an extra 88-buck tip, he sped over to take the job. But as he got closer, he realized the person who called the car was Mayan. Pei Qian froze. If he showed his face now, it would be super embarrassing. He quickly bought a wool mask that only showed his eyes and mouth and purposely changed his voice to a raspy tone so no one would recognize him. In the car, Li Shi was nervous, thinking the driver looked suspicious, and asked if he was wearing the mask just to drive. Mayan casually guessed the guy might have a rash and didn't want to show his face. Then he told Li Shi to stop thinking everyone was good, or he wouldn't recognize a bad person right next to him. He even trash-talked Pei Qian, saying his big investment in eternal reincarnation was meant to deal Pei Qian a fatal blow. Hearing that, Pei Qian was boiling mad but had to stay quiet and drive. Li Shi disagreed with the plan, saying Mayan was obsessed with beating boss Pei and even hired people to smear him, which wasn't fair play at all. Mayan snapped at Li Shi for playing favorites with Pei Qian, even moving into the bare walls apartment to live with him. He asked what Li Shi's dad would think. Li Shi calmly replied that boss Pei had a lot of traits worth respecting. He was a better investor and a better game maker, so what was wrong with being close? While eavesdropping on their gossip, Pei Qian almost rear-ended a white car. He swerved back and forth, so hard the car almost flipped over, but luckily he stopped in time, scaring the daylight out of everyone. Pei Qian apologized, but Mayan and Li Shi kept yelling, saying an apology wouldn't fix anything. Mayan ripped off the driver's mask, and right there in front of them was Pei Qian. Pei Qian immediately turned tail and ran. The chase was a total mess, like a game of cat and mouse. Eventually, Mayan lunged and tackled Pei Qian. After the roadside incident, all three were brought to the police station. Pei Qian's hair was a mess, and his face was dirty. The police asked him to explain himself. Pei Qian immediately pulled up his phone, showed his rating history, and said he'd been doing this for a while with mostly 5-star reviews, and some customers even booked him specifically because he was so reliable. He claimed today was just bad luck because he picked up their order. Mayan insisted that since Teng Dao was their rival, Pei Qian becoming their driver and almost causing a crash was clearly an attempted hit. Pei Qian shot back loudly, their SA dashcam in the car. The traffic police already checked the scene and said it was just a driving error, not intentional. I only worked at Tianhua to make money, and I'm a private driver to experience life and earn some extra cash. After some talking, the situation was settled. Before leaving, Mayan said coldly, "There's no evidence this time, so you're off the hook, but when eternal reincarnation launches, I'll make sure Teng Dao never recovers." Li Shi, on the other hand, figured out his own theory. Pei Qian became a driver just to dig up trade secrets. The guy was way too cunning. Right then, Assistant Xian rushed over. She said the police suggested Pei Qian should get a psych evaluation. She knew he was carrying a mortgage, so she had looked the other way regarding his side hustles before. But now, with a 5,000 monthly salary, he was out driving all day. She really didn't want to visit a police station again. Pei Qian, feeling insulted, insisted he was just working with his own 2 hands and had nothing to be ashamed of. He then hopped on his e-bike and rode away, leaving Assistant Xian speechless. Not long after, he was officially fired from the driving service. Outside, Ma Yang was gossiping with Lin Wan's group, saying Li Shi found out about Pei Qian's driving gig. He even thought Pei Qian went undercover in the driver world just to one day pick up Mayan and steal trade secrets. Ming Liang guessed that Boss Pei must have had an inside source to know Mayan was traveling. Hearing that, Bao Su was even more convinced that Pei Qian was a legend. Just then, a weird noise came from the office. The 4 of them rushed over to eavesdrop. Inside, Pei Qian was actually just throwing darts at a picture of Mayan to vent his anger about not being able to be a driver anymore. The next morning, the scene at the office was totally flipped. The cleaning lady was dressed like a boss, while Pei Qian was in a janitor outfit, busy mopping. Pei Qian insisted she go shopping instead while he handled the cleaning. When Assistant Xian arrived and saw him mopping, she was totally confused. Pei Qian didn't explain and just kept cleaning, making her laugh helplessly. A little later, the staff started trickling in. Everyone was surprised to find neck patches and tea on their desks, which were sparkling clean. Assistant Xian announced that Boss Pei saw the office was a mess and cleaned it himself. Hearing that, Don Li immediately called for everyone to keep the place spotless so they wouldn't let the boss down again. Meanwhile, the game Eternal Reincarnation officially launched and immediately hit the trending charts. But the reason was because people accused it of being a total ripoff of Turn Back is the Shore. Mayan thought they could just suppress the public outcry, but soon a wave of negative comments appeared, trashing the quality and calling Tianhua a total scam. Tons of people demanded refunds. Lin Wan's group watched the situation and realized Tianhua wouldn't be able to dodge the PR crisis this time. Being bashed so hard made Mayan lose it. He ordered Tianhua to increase the budget and put all staff on war footing to handle the crisis. Tianhua's employees were forced to pull extreme overtime to deal with the wave of angry players. In his frustration, Tianhua even slapped a coffee cup out of an employee's hand, refusing to let them rest and forcing everyone to keep grinding. The non-stop overtime meant the Tianhua staff looked like walking ghosts with dark panda eyes. They were burned out and working like hollow shells. Finally, someone couldn't take it and fainted on the spot, causing a panic in the office. But Tianhua didn't even care. He just stormed out and yelled at everyone to get back to work. saying if they couldn't handle it, they should just quit. Mayan also stood up and declared he had worked 45 days straight just like them, without stopping. Those words only made the staff angrier. In the crowd, someone was secretly recording the whole thing. Mayan kept scolding them, saying so many people dreamed of having this job and asked if they had fulfilled their duty. He claimed the company gave them countless chances. He said the first thing they should think about isn't complaining, but being grateful, because Tianhua was the place that brought them to the top. Soon, the video of Mayan trashing his staff was leaked online, causing instant outrage. Hao Qiong saw it while buying breakfast, and rushed back to the office to tell everyone to watch Mayan's big debut. The whole company just shook their heads in disgust. Anonymous comments even revealed that the staff had been working for a month and a half without going home. Even when someone fainted, Mayan didn't even check on them, he just kept insulting them. Donnelly breathed a sigh of relief because he had escaped that toxic environment. At Tianhua, Mayan was livid when he found out someone leaked the video, causing massive damage. He immediately ordered Chen Zhua to find the whistleblower, so he could take them to court. After the video went viral, Tianhua's employees were secretly satisfied. They had been pushed around by a ruthless boss for so long, and now they finally had a way to vent. Chen Zhua stepped out and demanded everyone bring their phones into the office to be checked, but no one even looked at his way. He almost lost his mind. Just then, Boss Li called and coldly announced they were cutting ties. Chen Zhua frantically ran to find Mayan, while the staff cheered. Boss Li found out and called to demand what Mayan had done, leaving Mayan so dazed that he literally snapped the phone in his hand. When Li Shi found out his dad was furious about the Tianhua studio situation, he immediately said he had a plan that could help. The next morning, Assistant Xian went to Tengda and saw the staff working comfortably and happily, which made her smile too. It turned out Li Shi had suggested Pei Qian buy out Tianhua Studio. Lin Wan's group was buzzing with the news, wondering if Boss Pei really wanted to buy it. Next, Pei Qian showed up at Tianhua. Li Shi told Mayan that Boss Pei was ready to represent Tengda and buy the whole studio, and even take him under his wing. Mayan thought Pei Qian was just trying to insult him and declared he was quitting, but as soon as he heard Tengda would pay the highest salary in the industry, he immediately changed his tune and said he was ready to talk. After that, Lin Wan told the old staff that Tianhua would be renamed Slow Walk. She hoped everyone would get used to Tengda's relaxed pace. Many people, who were used to non-stop overtime, started getting suspicious. They thought this might just be an excuse to fire them. When Lin Wan accidentally found out about this, she immediately called Pei Qian for HR advice. Pei Qian told her they needed to break through the employees' psychological barriers first. He said people who were used to being exploited often felt they didn't deserve to be treated well. The next morning, Lin Wan called 3 employees who had badmouthed her for a private talk. She reminded them that the old environment at Tianhua made everyone feel unsafe, but Tengda was different. Here, there was zero toxic internal competition. As for Mayan and Chen Zhua, she said Boss Pei had arranged for them to experience exactly what it felt like to be a Tianhua employee. When Mayan and Chen Zhua arrived at the office, Donnelly immediately told them to clock in. He even said the time clock seemed to exist just for the two of them. Seeing they were late, he warned them to come earlier tomorrow. When they walked into the office, no one else was there yet. But soon, Donnelly came back to check on them and noticed they weren't wearing their ID badges, so he forced them to put them on right away. Even bathroom breaks were restricted to under 10 minutes. Mayan was forced to endure the exact same harsh rules he used to set for his staff. On top of that, he had to run around buying coffee for everyone. After just a few days of work, he looked like he had aged 10 years. When he got into the elevator, he had to squeeze in with a crowd of regular employees. Right then, his phone vibrated. Pei Qian texted him that messages had to be answered within 10 minutes, or his pay would be docked. Then, more people pushed into the elevator, and Mayan's phone dropped to the floor. Pei Qian's voice came from the speaker, saying he had installed a special security camera for him. He demanded Mayan work hard, and said if he was caught being lazy, he'd lose money. He also reminded Mayan to explain why eternal reincarnation failed, but in plain English. The next day, in front of everyone, Mayan announced he would share his experience regarding the failed game. He insisted the project failed entirely because Pei Qian was immoral. He claimed Pei Qian sent spies to Tianhua to steal trade secrets and tricked them into following his marketing plan just to destroy the company. According to him, without that conspiracy, Tianhua wouldn't have lost so much money. Mayan claimed Tianhua didn't fail because of bad decisions, but because they lost to a dirty, shameless, and low-life competitor. Hearing that, Donnelly was disgusted. Even now, Mayan was still blaming others. He bluntly pointed out that the game failed because it was just a bad ripoff of Tengda's turn back as the shore. Other former Tianhua staff spoke up too. They admitted the company only knew how to copy games poorly, ignoring the parts that were actually good and just throwing money away. They said they needed to reflect on themselves. Donnelly added that the bosses only thought about how to control staff instead of how to make a good game. So failure was inevitable. Chen Zhua's ego was too big. He got annoyed and asked if everyone had already flipped to Tengda's side. He then dragged Mayan away, saying they were both quitting to find other jobs. Lin Wan watched them leave, sighed, and told everyone that from now on, they were officially Tengda people. The whole room burst into cheers. In the office, Assistant Xian told Pei Qian that because Chunjua riled him up, Mayan had quit, and didn't he even take his full severance pay. She asked how he felt about this revenge. Pei Qian just said that even if you take down one Mayan, there are countless others out there. Then, Assistant Xian gave him the final paperwork for the Qianhua acquisition to sign. When he saw that the acquisition actually lost money, Pei Qian was pleasantly surprised. Assistant Xian said, "The bonus for the loss has already been sent to you." Hearing that, his eyes lit up as he checked his phone. Then he went back to his janitor work. With money in his pocket, the first thing Pei Qian did was pay back Ma Yang. Right then, he got a notification that his appeal was accepted, and he could go back to being a private driver. The next day, Assistant Xian had to climb countless stairs, gasping for air, just to meet Sima to play jump chess. Seeing she was a bit distracted, Sima reminded her not to underestimate the game. He said the simpler the game, the longer it lasts. Assistant Xian then asked if he had a plan for Tengda yet. She said Pei Qian only wanted his 5,000 salary, worked as a driver, and even to the janitoress job he had basically given up and had zero motivation. She asked if he could really become like Sima used to be. Sima slowly replied that when you build enough bridges, you eventually hit your goal, and sometimes you can't even stop if you want to. By then, it's not you playing the game is playing you. He said when they started Kinhong, they thought they could always move forward, but later they realized they weren't in control of anything. After years of dealing with big capital, he understood one thing. Once you step on the board and the game starts, you can't stop, you can only keep playing. The next morning, at Fench Company, Mayan met with Eric. He said that in his hardest time, Fench gave him and Chinjua a chance, so he wouldn't let them down. Eric replied that his dad had known Mayan for years and always thought highly of him. Before, Fench only published foreign games, but since his dad retired, Eric wanted to lead the company into a new era. Hearing that, Mayan said Tengda was making Mountain Sea Gods, which was in the same genre as their project, so they'd definitely clash at launch. However, he believed the battle between Fenj and Tengda would be a one-sided slaughter. At Tengda, while Pei Qian was cleaning, he suddenly caught staff secretly working overtime. He walked into the game testing room, making the employees behind him nervous, fearing they'd get scolded for working late. But after testing it, Pei Qian just calmly said Mountain Sea Gods was done well and thanked them for their hard work. After that, he went back to cleaning, feeling sad because he knew this game would likely be another hit. Soon, Pei Qian went to the rooftop, looking at the sky and wondering why Tengda was always this good. Was he succeeding or failing? After work, Lin Wan ran into him and invited him over to try her cooking. During dinner, she said that every time a project succeeded before, he never seemed happy. She thought maybe everyone else was easy to please, while he wanted more. But this time, she could see he was actually happy about Mountain Sea Gods. She said Tengda's previous games won in weird ways, but this was the first time the company legitimately made a high-quality, large-scale MMORPG. Pei Qian felt even sadder because no one understood the real struggle in his heart. Failing was easy for everyone else, but for him, it was harder than climbing to the sky. When Lin Wan finished cooking the steak, she raised her glass to thank him for his support and sincerity toward all the employees. Pei Qian replied that no matter what happened, he would always stand by them and make sure Mountain Sea Gods launched smoothly. It was his first time having a girl cut meat for him, and he couldn't stop smiling. The next morning, Ma Yang went through every room looking for Pei Qian but couldn't find him, which made him super worried. A while later, the police and the Tengda staff knocked on Lin Wan's door and found Pei Qian inside, leaving everyone in total shock. The police officer even recognized him, saying they had met again. In the car, Pei Qian explained that he only had a few drinks last night, got tired, and fell asleep on the sofa. But no one believed him. Everyone thought they were secretly dating, and Lin Wan couldn't explain her way out of it even if she had 10 mouths. A week later, Mountain Sea Gods officially launched, and the whole staff gathered at the lazy internet cafe to log in and play. In the game, the characters were based on Pei Qian, Lin Wan, Bao Su, Zibo, Ming Liang, Ma Yang, and Guangjin. The female travelers in the game world were all ordinary people working together to protect the gods. At the same time, over at Fenj, Mayan showed everyone the data and announced that Infinite Imagination would be released that same day. At Tengda, while Lin Wan was scrolling through her phone, she found out that players were trash-talking Mountain Sea Gods, while Infinite Imagination was being praised as the best MMORPG in the country. Seeing the videos trashing Tengda all over the internet, Ma Yang immediately realized that Mayan must have hired people to do this. After some debating, Lin Wan insisted that the most important thing right now was to save Mountain Sea Gods, or the game would be buried. Everyone immediately crowded around the table to plan. Seeing the project at risk of losing money, Pei Qian actually couldn't be happy. This was something the whole team worked day and night on, and he felt a huge conflict in his heart. Finally, he thought that the world could lack a good movie, but he couldn't let sincere people be let down. So, he stepped in and gave Lin Wan's plan the green light. The whole team was instantly hyped. Just then, Assistant Xian showed up. Ma Yang thought she was there to stop them and almost charged at her, but she pushed him aside and announced that the budget was approved, telling everyone not to lose to a guy like Mayan. The atmosphere got even more intense, and everyone was determined to win. Seeing how happy everyone was, Pei Qian felt relieved too. The next morning, Zibo reported that he had contacted many content creators and bloggers, but everyone was fully booked for the year. Clearly, Mayan had made the first move. Pei Qian decided that if online marketing wasn't working, they'd switch to offline promotion in physical stores. Xiao Liang also stepped up to question if players were being brainwashed by marketing accounts. Right after that, a wave of promotion kicked off. The Lazy Internet Cafe offered discounts to people who downloaded the game. The Private Kitchen did the same. At the phone booths, players got 5 free calls. Zibo even forced Baijiao and Shihua to join the promotion. By using all of Tingda's businesses, the game slowly started to turn around. Li Shi also supported them by giving free food to people who installed the game at his restaurant. The next day, Chen Zhuo told Mayan that Tingda was using their whole ecosystem to promote, and their downloads and reputation were clearly rising. Hearing that, he coldly decided it was time to get even meaner. Right after, Mayan started using dirty tricks. He purposely messed with Tingda's English name, hinting it was missing a G, and even named a new outfit in his game the failure who can't take off all low-blow insults meant to bring down his rival. Ming Liang remembered what Pei Qian once said, "Ignore the small-time trolls." But when Bao Su searched for mountain sea gods, only results for infinite imagination showed up. The rival had clearly blocked their keywords. Lin Wan checked other platforms and found the same thing. Right then, Zibo rushed in with even worse news. Not just in search engines, but on almost all social media and short video platforms, their engagement wasn't growing at all. After asking Xiao Liang, he confirmed everything was being shadow banned and keywords were blocked. Ma Yan was furious at Mayan's tactics. Seeing everyone looking anxious, Pei Qian stepped forward. He acknowledged that everyone put a lot of heart and hope into the project, but he also asked if the criticism was only because of Mayan's lies. Don Li analyzed that Tingdao was a new company with 4 successful games, so the industry was bound to be jealous and annoyed. Pei Qian calmly said that a creation is a place for the creator's real emotions. If they spend all day worrying about PR, they'd lose the ability to bring joy to players. To attract players, they had to rely on heartfelt content and fresh gameplay. What they needed to do now was stay calm and think about how to improve Mountain Sea Gods. People like Mayan would always exist. If they had to have a rival, it should only be themselves. Those words helped everyone calm down and start looking directly at the game's issues. Seeing the team's spirit recover, Pei Qian smiled and left. After a lively discussion, Lin Wan's group came up with a list of improvements and got straight to work. Thanks to the positive changes in the game, more and more players started praising Mountain Sea Gods. Right after, Zibo even went to the film set to ask Baijiao and Shihua to sign photos to send to players. That small move had a great effect and brought in a ton of positive feedback. For many days, the Tengda staff gave their all to support the game. Seeing everyone working so hard, Pei Qian brought the chef from the private kitchen to handle every meal. When the fresh, delicious food was served, everyone's spirits lifted and their work drive went up. Not only that, Pei Qian announced some good news. Ma Yang, director Zhuang, and Zibo had secured a deal with a famous anime IP. After trying Mountain Sea Gods, the other party was very impressed and decided to do a crossover. Right then, Lin Wan ran out with more news. The platforms that previously blocked them were now open. Users could finally find information about Mountain Sea Gods. The joy doubled, and everyone gathered around to enjoy the meal in high spirits. Meanwhile, online, the tide started to turn. More and more people were complaining about infinite imagination. They said it was fun at first but got boring later, just making players spend money without a good experience. There were even accusations that Fenge used dirty tricks to block search keywords for Mountain Sea Gods. Seeing his situation failing, Mayan immediately got angry and blamed everything on Chinzhua. When Eric showed up, Mayan frantically asked for more budget, claiming that with more money, he could beat Tingda. Eric coldly rejected him. The issue now wasn't money. An investigation showed that Infinite Imagination used smear tactics, manipulation, and even fake news, which completely crossed the ethical line of game marketing. The authorities asked the company to help with the investigation. Mayan still stubbornly yelled that it was just a marketing tactic. Eric got angry and made it clear that those actions had seriously hurt the company's reputation. Hearing that, Mayan suddenly broke down in tears, saying he would personally step up and tell everyone it was his own doing and had nothing to do with the company. Leaving the room, he told Chinzhua to keep working hard because there would still be chances, but for himself, there was no way back in this industry. He still didn't understand where he lost to Pei Qian. Chinzhua comforted him, saying he was far superior and that Pei Qian wasn't even worth comparing to. He admitted that since Pei Qian showed up, his career felt like it hit a wall and every project was a nightmare, but they always worked their hardest and still didn't get what went wrong. Later, Mayan went to Tingdao's headquarters. Seeing Pei Qian, he was about to start trouble, but stopped when he saw how Pei Qian and the staff treated each other like equals. Everyone was smiling brightly, and the atmosphere was full of sincere bonding. In that moment, he suddenly understood where he lost it wasn't about brains, but about how he treated people and his own morals. Soon after, all the dirty tricks Fenge used to hurt Tingdao were fully exposed to the public. Tingdao's year-end party was massive, with a vibe that was more fun than ever before. The hosts for the night were Lin Wan and Zibo. Under the bright lights, they honored employees with standout contributions in every department and toasted to a successful year. Today, Pei Qian was dressed up with his hair neatly styled, finally looking like the CEO of a booming company. However, there was still a hint of sadness in his eyes. Every employee's life was getting better, but he felt like he was still stuck in the same place. He joined the party, and during the lucky draw, one employee won 8,888, followed by many others, but never Pei Qian. He got more and more disappointed. When the 1,888 prize came up, his eyes lit up with hope, but Zibo won it. The grand prize was a 10-day trip for two anywhere in the world. Pei Qian hoped his luck would finally turn, but Bao Su's name was called. Bao Su didn't even want the prize, but everyone dragged him onto the stage, so he just gave the trip to Ishu. Not winning anything, Pei Qian still had to go on stage to take photos with the lucky winners. Everyone was beaming. Except for him, he just stood there looking totally lost. After the party, Lin Wan called Pei Qian to be her driver to take her home. In the car, she sincerely thanked him, saying she was truly grateful to have such a great boss. Pei Qian just gave a weak smile, saying meeting him early wasn't that great since he used to just be a lackey at Fuhue. When Pei Qian got Lin Wan home, her parents kept thanking him. While Shenhua took Lin Wan up to her room, Zhengnan noticed Pei Qian's outfit was a bit strange. He explained it was just a cosplay outfit for the company party. Hearing that, Zhengnan laughed and thanked him again for supporting Lin Wan's projects. When they found out Pei Qian drove Lin Wan home without drinking a single drop of alcohol, they were very surprised. In the business world, someone who doesn't touch alcohol is rare, so they liked him even more as they saw him off. The next day, Pei Qian took a new driving job, and the customer was Lauren Fu, Sima's son. On the way, he accidentally overheard a call and learned that Lauren Fu knew assistant Xian and was on his way to Tengda. When he heard the guy ask exactly where Pei Qian was, Pei Qian jumped. Not long after, they met at Tengda, and Lauren Fu was shocked that the guy who just drove him was the company boss. Pei Qian just calmly explained it was a way to experience life. When asked why he was visiting, Lauren Fu said he'd heard his father mention Pei Qian a lot, so he came to help manage Tengda. Hearing that, Pei Qian was a mess and pulled assistant Xian aside to ask what Sima was thinking. Assistant Xian guessed he just wanted his son to train there. Pei Qian reluctantly agreed, but said training was fine as long as he didn't try to manage him. After that, Lauren Fu promised not to mess with current projects, but said he would start a new business line and needed Pei Qian's help. After hearing the plan, Pei Qian felt physically sick. That night, Lin Wan's group gathered to complain about the new rich kid. No one could stand his cocky attitude. It felt like a second Baijiao. Just then, Lin Wan got a text from Pei Qian saying not to worry, because Lauren Fu promised not to touch old projects, which made everyone feel a bit better. But the next morning, Lauren Fu straight up took over Pei Qian's office. Pei Qian didn't make a scene, but reminded him that Tengda doesn't do e-marketing. Lauren Fu immediately brought up Ma Yang and laid out a new plan. The Ma Yang fulfillment project would be turned into a sales livestream, making Ma Yang the main influencer. As a result, Ma Yang was forced to wear a ridiculous, clown-like outfit with his hair in two buns to sell products on camera, feeling totally embarrassed and helpless. Lauren Fu didn't stop there. He also demanded Ishu go with him to inspect the movie set. When Zibo heard he was coming, he read the list of demands for the welcome ceremony, which left Pei Qian speechless. They had to prepare big banners and fresh flowers for a grand ceremony. A bit later, Lauren Fu landed at the set in a helicopter. The strong wind from the rotors blew away all the banners and knocked over the flowers. He stepped out looking super hyped, while behind him, Ma Yang, who was on a helicopter for the first time, was pale as a ghost, walking and throwing up nonstop. A while later, when Bai Jiao arrived at the set, he found his reserved seat had been taken. He was furious at first, but as soon as he found out the person sitting there was Lauren Fu, his attitude flipped instantly to being super friendly, acting like he'd been waiting for him forever. The movie officially started filming. However, because of this unpredictable rich kid, the whole filming plan kept getting changed based on his random ideas, making the schedule a mess. The next morning, Lin Wan's group all had dark panda eyes as they called Pei Qian to complain that Lauren Fu was working them to death. Before going to the set, he had even added more work to cram brand ads into the game, making Ming Liang work overtime until he fainted. Hearing that, Pei Qian got worried right away. He told everyone to report any weird situations to him immediately and gave the whole staff the afternoon off for medical checkups, with the company covering all the costs. But Lin Wan said that Lauren Fu insisted on video meetings to check their work, even when he wasn't at the office. At that point, Pei Qian knew it was time for his secret weapon. He sent everyone a bunch of files and told them to follow the instructions to AT. The next day, the whole Tengda team put the plan into action. On the outside, they looked super busy and professional, following every protocol, but it was really just a way to handle Lauren Fu. Once things settled down, everyone was impressed and wondered where Pei Qian learned how to deal with people so well. While Pei Qian was taking a break, Ishu rushed in to tell him that Lauren Fu and Ma Yang were having a massive blowout. It turned out they were fighting over a promo contract. Ma Yang flat out refused to sign because the terms said he wasn't allowed to date or even look for a girlfriend. Pei Qian agreed that the request was way too much, but Lauren Fu insisted it was a great chance for the company's long-term future. Ma Yang didn't care and just walked out. Pei Qian calmed Lauren Fu down first, then went to find Ma Yang to talk. Ma Yang complained that he was on the verge of a breakdown because the guy was pushing him too hard. Pei Qian told him that if he didn't want to do it, they'd just scrap the contract, and he'd handle Lauren Fu. Ma Yang was practically in tears, saying Pei Qian didn't even know how bad the live streams were, and he needed to get out for some air before he lost it. Just then, Ishu came out holding Indang the cat and said Lauren Fu was allergic to cat hair and wanted it gone. Pei Qian stepped up and explained to Lauren Fu that Indang wasn't just some random cat, it was Tengda's mascot that had been there through the whole journey. Lauren Fu coldly replied that if the cat wanted to stay, it had to provide value. Pei Qian didn't say another word, he just grabbed the cat and ran out. He took Indang to the bare walls apartment and told it to hang tight for a few days until he could get Sima to kick Lauren Fu out. But when Pei Qian checked the live stream to see what was happening, he saw Lauren Fu forcing Ma Yang to dance and act like a clown in front of tens of thousands of viewers while trying to sell stuff. He got so pissed he rushed back to the office and demanded they stop the stream. Ma Yang was worried, saying there were thousands of people watching and they couldn't just cut the feed. Pei Qian decided on a different move. If they were going to do a stream, they'd just expose all the fake and low-quality junk. With Pei Qian backing him up, Ma Yang immediately started calling out every subpar product live on air, telling the viewers to stay away from the garbage. While Bai Jia was busy promoting products on the movie set, Ma Yang was simultaneously trashing those same products on the live stream to let people know the truth. Zibo and director Zhuang were watching it all happen, totally frozen and almost in tears, not knowing how everything turned into such a mess. Ma Yang's brutal honesty made the brands furious, and they started attacking him online. But unlike the angry brands, the viewers in the live stream trusted him even more because he was being so real. Slowly, people started calling Ma Yang the most trustworthy face of Tengda. The promo plan was a total wreck, and Lauren Fu was steaming at Pei Qian. He said Pei Qian had dragged him into a huge mess, leaving him to deal with a mountain of complaints, breach of contract fees, and the risk of ruining all of Tengda's business partnerships. Some brands were even getting ready to sue, and the whole situation looked like a total train wreck. Pei Qian calmly broke it down. First, many ads were fake, so the company was legally safe. Second, several items were total junk and didn't meet any standards, so it wasn't a breach of contract. Third, he was done dealing with Sima Fu's personal drama. If there were fines to pay, the amount was less than what the guy spent on himself. Let his dad pay for the helicopter. He also flat out told him to stop speaking English because he didn't understand a word of it. Sima Fu shot back that Pei Qian had signed all the plans, so the responsibility for the payouts was on him. Pei Qian just replied that Sima Fu was even better at losing money than he was, but told him to stop bullying the Tengda staff from now on. Sima Fu stormed off in a rage. The next day, Sima Fu hired Pei Qian as his private driver again. Even though he didn't want to see his face, Pei Qian still had to drive. After the ride, he noticed dust on the hood of the car and drew a turtle on it. Right then, Xiao Chui texted him, saying someone had rented his apartment. Pei Qian was shocked because the place was basically empty, yet someone still wanted to live there. Soon after, while taking a new driving job, he found out that Sima had 2 other sons. Sima Hui and Sima Tuesday. Realizing something was wrong, Pei Qian went straight to assistant Xan. He suspected Sima was using him as a sharpening stone for his sons, even though that wasn't in the contract. He told her to contact Sima immediately to clear things up. Assistant Xan said that ever since Sima Fu arrived, she hadn't been able to reach Sima either. Hearing this, Pei Qian just had a massive headache. Sima Fu alone was enough to exhaust him, and now Sima's other 2 sons were about to show up at Tengda. Just thinking about it made life seem difficult. The next day, Pei Qian told Lin Wan's group that the company was getting 2 new investors. While everyone was curious about who they were, Assistant Xan explained that Sima Tu and Sima Hui were shareholders of Tengda, just like Sima Fu. Ma Yang immediately wondered when the company even got investors, since they had built it from the ground up themselves. Pei Qian just said that as a career grows, so do the troubles, so they should look at this as a chance to gain experience. The team promised to handle it themselves, so he wouldn't have to step in. But right after that, Sima Tu and Sima Hui called a meeting for all the core staff. The meeting didn't settle anything useful. The 2 just kept trying to outdo each other, acting like they were in a contest to see who was better. Lin Wan's group was secretly laughing. Meanwhile, Pei Qian kept calling Sima, but he still couldn't get through. He was getting more and more anxious, not knowing what kind of game was being played. At night, Lin Wan complained to him that the 2 new guys didn't dare mess with him, but they were trying to interfere with Mountain Sea Gods. Now, none of the staff dared to come to the office. They were all hiding at the coffee shop. Right after that, everyone got a text. Sima Tu wanted a meeting at 9 a.m. the next morning, and Sima Hui wanted one at 8 a.m. Everyone was speechless. Pei Qian texted them, both saying Tengda doesn't have a rule about coming in early. He moved it to 11 a.m. and told them they had to agree with each other internally before messing with the game, or else people would laugh at them. However, those 2 immediately gave opposite opinions, leaving everyone totally helpless and confused about what they were thinking. The next day, Sima Hui started calling employees into the office one by one for private talks, asking about everything from work to their personal thoughts. It made everyone feel as stressed as if they were being interrogated. That night, Sima too gathered all the Tungdao employees in the yard and forced them into physical training. The vibe immediately turned into a brutal boot camp. Every 5 people had to carry a giant log and run around the yard. Everyone's legs were shaking, and they felt like crying. He didn't stop there. He even ordered Zibo to lean back and fall blindly to face his fears. Before Zibo could even react, Sima too stepped forward and gave him a hard push. Luckily, his teammates caught him just in time, so Zibo avoided a dangerous fall, but he was so scared he almost fainted. From then on, everyone looked at Sima too with nothing but resentment. Right when the tension was highest, Albing showed up and announced loud and clear that the training field had been rented out by Li Shi and could no longer be used. Sima too was visibly pissed, while Lin Wan's group breathed a sigh of relief, feeling like they had been saved from a training hell. The next morning, Sima too and Sima Hui announced another decision. The whole company would start a job rotation. Department heads had to switch to different positions to experience entry-level work. Hearing this, Pei Qian immediately invited both of them into his office for a private talk. He told them bluntly that he didn't agree. Tungdao's business was too wide, and moving people around randomly could paralyze everything. But those two insisted on doing it anyway. Pei Qian sighed and asked, "Does Mr. Sima know about this?" The two just told him he should know his place, saying, "That man is our father." After hearing that, Pei Qian felt even more annoyed and immediately told Assistant Xian to give him an address so he could go see Mr. Sima himself. That night, the group gathered to talk. Lin Wan wondered why the 3 Sima brothers were just shareholders while Pei Qian was the founder, yet he still had to temporarily put up with them. Ma Yang guessed that maybe Pei Qian was Sima's illegitimate son, essentially a rich kid who went out to start his own business. With all the guessing about his identity, everyone felt like the story was turning into a complicated family power struggle. Everyone started believing that Pei Qian might be Sima's 4th son, and the 3 brothers were at the company to fight him for power. Lin Wan looked at the team and asked bluntly, regardless of whether this was a family civil war or not, did anyone want to leave Tungda? When everyone shook their heads, she declared that in that case, the whole team would stay and help Boss Pei win this battle. The job rotation plan officially began, and everyone swapped roles. Lin Wan moved to being a singer at the lazy internet cafe, while Bao Su became a delivery guy for the private kitchen. During one delivery to Qiao Liang, he sighed and complained that the company had 2 Sima bosses who wanted to split them up, making life miserable with this job swap game. Qiao Liang listened but couldn't understand what was going on at Tungda. Assistant Xian had to work at the front desk. Every time she saw Sima too and Sima Hui walk into the office, she was annoyed but had to suck it up, while also texting Pei Qian to find Mr. Sima quickly. On the film set, Ma Yang had to take Zibo's place. When Bai Jiao read the script, he trashed it, saying it was acting for monkeys, and forced Ma Yang to rewrite it. Ma Yang panicked and called Zibo, complaining that he didn't know how to write a script. At the same time, Sima Hui went to encourage Zibo to come up with new ideas because he saw him as an excellent employee, which just made Zibo secretly angry. Pei Qian wandered everywhere looking for Mr. Sima. 2 months later, after a long flight, he finally returned to Tungda. Assistant Xian was thrilled to see him and immediately showed him the company's books. As soon as he looked at them, Pei Qian's eyes lit up. Right after that, Assistant Xian brought the books to Sima too and Sima Hui, coldly asking how they planned to explain things to Mr. Sima if he asked about the current disastrous business situation. The two of them panicked the moment they saw the numbers. Sima too and Sima Hui gunned it out of Tungda to dodge the blame. Pei Qian hopped on his bike and chased them, yelling at them to come back. Seeing him, those two just went faster. In the rush, Pei Qian clipped some other bikes and wiped out on the side of the road. Assistant Xian rushed over to the hospital as soon as she heard he was there. Pei Qian got all worked up, asking where Sima Sr. was and why he left him with such a total mess. Assistant Xian could only say she had 0 contact with him. The guy just disappears and pops back up out of nowhere. Pei Qian yelled that whether the guy was alive or dead, he had to show his face and pay up. Right then, 2 doctors wheeled a patient into the room. Pei Qian froze, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him. Assistant Xian realized it was Sima Sr. Turns out, he'd been secretly getting treated in the country, all along without telling a soul. Pei Qian panicked, asking what would happen if the guy stayed in a coma. Assistant Xian said the deal would be off. Pei Qian begged the doctor who just walked out to save him, but he was so worked up and hurt that he cried until he passed out. Later, Assistant Xian went back to the office and told everyone Pei Qian was okay, but needed some quiet time to recover. Hearing that, the whole company started bashing Sima too and Sima Hui for causing all the trouble and making Boss Pei suffer. They decided to fix things up to take the weight off Pei Qian and win the family war. The company got back on track, with everyone in their right spots. Things ran smoothly, and everyone did what they were best at. Ma Yang went all out on his sales live streams. A while later, Ishu ran over to say the streams were finally making a profit. Ma Yang was hyped, thinking once Pei Qian was back, he'd clean up the mess those Sima guys made. A few months back, when his condition was bad, Sima Sr. called his 3 sons to his bedside and said Tungdao would bring Jinghang back to life. Then he fell fast asleep and started snoring. The 3 sons thought he had passed away and were secretly happy. The assistant next to them had to remind them the old man was still breathing and they were getting ahead of themselves. Back to the present. Pei Qian sat outside the hospital room every day, hoping the old man would wake up so they could finish their deal. His hand was almost healed, but Sima Sr. still hadn't woken up. Having no other choice, he just sat there and retold the story of the contract they made on the private jet. Right then, Sima Lai walked in. He said for the last 2 years, the old man kept talking about Pei Qian, saying he was the absolute best heir. In his eyes, Tingda was the version of Jinghong he had always imagined. Sima Lai admitted he knew all about the contract, but the jet deal was just one of the old man's many plans. That private jet was always parked there because whenever someone steps off, someone else steps right on. He said he had studied Pei Qian's projects. Every time Pei Qian tried to lose money or racked his brain to hike up costs, it just turned into innovation. He treated his staff so well that they were willing to work even harder. Pei Qian finally realized he was just like a guinea pig. Tingda was just a lab for the Sima family. Sima Lai continued, saying the experiment was a success. The staff was happy, but Pei Qian only got $5,000 a month, was stuck with a mortgage, and had to work side jobs everywhere. In the end, Pei Qian was the only one who didn't get what he wanted. In the old man's eyes, you're just like his other 3 sons. Whichever horse stands out as the good one. My 2 brothers think they can inherit the business, but they aren't even qualified. Honestly, you should just dissolve Tingda and declare bankruptcy. Pei Qian refused immediately. I have no reason to listen to you. This is a Sima family problem. Don't drag Tingda into it. Sima Lai calmly said, Tingda belongs to the Sima family anyway. My 3 brothers have already trashed the place, so that promise between you and my dad can't happen anymore. He handed him a black card. Just announce Tingda is bankrupt, and all the money on this card is yours. Pei Qian just stood there. He didn't know how to answer or what to choose. A month later, the Tingda staff was still incredibly busy. When Pei Qian showed up, everyone happily surrounded him, telling him to just rest and not worry about the company. Lin Wan's group told him they had everything handled. Then they went back to work to keep the company growing. Pei Qian watched them work with so much passion. He really didn't want to bankrupt Tingda. Thinking it over on the roof, he finally understood Sima Sr.'s plan. The old man was afraid that while he was weak, Jinghong would be swallowed up by the times. So he found someone to keep the capitalist empire going. After he stepped off that private jet, someone else would surely step on. This whole lose money to make money thing was just a fantasy. In the end, he'd get nothing and lose his whole life. To Sima, everything was just an asset. Pei Qian decided he had to flip the board with everyone. He told Assistant Xian, they call this a win-win, but I'm the only one getting screwed. She admitted she collected the resumes, but the old man chose him. No one really knew what he was thinking. Maybe he saw that Pei Qian was like a regular guy, not greedy for capital, but flexible and brave enough to challenge authority. Pei Qian admitted he couldn't hold on anymore. Assistant Xian told him to think of himself and then left. Pei Qian sat alone in his bare walls apartment for a long time. Finally, he called Sima Lai. The next morning, he called a meeting with everyone. Seeing everyone so happy made his head spin. He slowly said that since the start, he never thought the company would change this much. But due to personal reasons and recent events, he decided to shut down all of Tingdao's businesses. He turned and walked out. Everyone was still talking and didn't catch it, except Lin Wan. She chased him. When the others realized they were gone, the whole company went looking for them. They caught up and asked if he was joking. He calmly said he had decided and would arrange severance pay. Everyone panicked. Pei Qian told them he had wanted to quit for a long time. Lin Wan cried, not believing him. Pei Qian finally confessed that he made them do things they hated and wanted their hard work to fail. He had lied to them all. After saying that, he turned his back and walked away, leaving the whole group frozen, not knowing what was happening. Right after that, the entire Tongda system was shut down. Everyone was incredibly sad. Everything was running so well, and then suddenly it ended, making everyone burst into tears. To them, their time at Tingda was a rare happy period because very few companies have such a great environment. Ming Liang, the guy who always left work earliest, didn't want to leave the office today, but all good things must come to an end. Ma Yang watched each of his co-workers from the investment team leave one by one. He couldn't believe it was real, but he had to swallow his tears and accept it. Pei Qian met privately with the head accountant and asked her to transfer the severance pay to every employee. That night, looking at the words announcing Tongda's bankruptcy, he felt totally soulless. Lin Wan wasn't doing any better. She cried because the place where she poured all her passion and feelings was gone, and she felt like she might never meet another boss as good as Pei Qian. Meanwhile, seeing Tongda go bankrupt, Sima Lai was thrilled. He immediately called Pei Qian and said that destroying Tongda wasn't that hard. Pei Qian just hadn't wanted to do it before. Tongda was officially bankrupt, and Pei Qian received a massive amount of money. After leaving Tongda, everyone went their separate ways. Zibo went to work at a new company, but was constantly bullied by his boss. They even mocked him, saying he thought he was a big deal just because he worked at Tongda. Eventually, that company went bankrupt too. Those words made Zibo furious and sick to his stomach, but he could only stay quiet and take it. Baosu went back to the internet cafe. Ming Liang went camping alone to find that familiar sense of freedom from the old days. Ma Yang opened a fruit stand and hired Ishu's group of sales staff. He almost became a support system for everyone. Anyone from Tungda who hadn't found a job could come and help out. The little shop suddenly became a hangout for people who once shared a home. Meanwhile, Pei Qian lived in a quiet bubble. He sat in front of the photo from the company's grand opening, looking at old pictures of the staff, feeling incredibly sad. The next day, he went back to the Tungda building. Inside, it was completely empty, no laughter, no familiar buzz. The silence was so heavy it was hard to breathe. Wanting to feel the pain one more time, he logged into the game Mountain Sea Gods. As soon as he was online, Yindang the cat appeared and led him to a special place, Mingyan Manor. There, he saw the lonely road, the private kitchen, Endpoint Novels, and Yuan Meng Investment. All of them were marks that Tungda had left behind. Finally, a video popped up sent by Ma Yang's group. In the video, everyone took turns saying that no matter what happened, they wouldn't let him down. To them, Tungda was still the best company in the world, and he was the greatest boss. If it weren't for Tungda, they wouldn't have had such happy days. Hearing this, Pei Qian broke down in tears. He suddenly realized he never saw them as just employees, but as friends, as family, the people who created happy memories with him. Just then, the system voice spoke about the journey they had been through. Maybe he had been lost or wanted to quit, but he had also gathered his own scenery. And in the next journey, Mountain Sea Gods would open a brand new version, Justice Protector. Pei Qian realized everyone had set his character as the Justice Protector in the game. When Pei Qian stabbed the sword into the ground in the game, that moment triggered the Mountain Sea Gods 2.0 version. A message appeared. Where there is a protector of light, the dark land sees hope. And he was the one with that mission. As he watched, his tears kept falling. He never expected everyone would build such a meaningful character for him. A thought suddenly popped into his head, and Pei Qian immediately left the Tungda building to find Sima Lai. He put the black card back on the table in front of him and said he was unilaterally canceling their deal. Sima Lai realized how deep Pei Qian's feelings for Tungda were, but Pei Qian just calmly stated that he and Sima's people were never, and would never be, the same kind of people. After saying that, he left the card and walked away. Next, Pei Qian went to find assistant Xian, hoping she would return to the company. When he found out the person who rented his apartment was actually Li Shi. Li Shi wanted to stay there to understand Pei Qian's mindset better. He also offered to temporarily buy the apartment because he knew Pei Qian was struggling with money, promising to sell it back when Pei Qian had the cash. Pei Qian didn't say much and quietly signed the contract to sell the place. Back at Tungda, he started taking action. He called the person in charge to put Mountain Sea Gods 2.0 onto the servers. The next day, he called Guangjian, first apologizing for the past, and then asking him to come back and draw a new poster for the game. Guangjian agreed. Pei Qian handled a massive amount of work by himself, almost never resting, just hoping to bring Tungda back to life. After finishing the game update, he went to a net cafe to find Bao Su. The two of them just looked at each other with red eyes, their emotions so strong they couldn't even speak. Next, he went up a mountain to find Ming Liang, apologizing and asking him to return. Seeing him shivering from the cold, Ming Liang couldn't help but laugh. The next day, Zibo received a job offer from abroad and went to the meeting spot, but the person waiting for him was actually Pei Qian, asking him to come back to Tungda. Hearing the invitation, Zibo couldn't hold back his tears. He choked up, admitting he never wanted to go to any other company. The only thing he wanted was to keep working with Pei Qian. Pei Qian reassured him that with this new start, he definitely wouldn't let him down. Overjoyed, Zibo left, and Pei Qian headed to Ma Yang's fruit shop. As soon as Ma Yang saw him, he turned his head away. Pei Qian stood in front of everyone and honestly apologized. Ma Yang yelled at him for a while to vent his anger, but then immediately hugged him tight because he was finally back. The people standing behind them couldn't hide their joy. Meanwhile, since leaving Tungda, Lin Wan had been alone in her room, feeling totally conflicted. When she got a text from Pei Qian saying he was downstairs and wanted to explain, she immediately blocked him and ignored all his calls. Having no other choice, Pei Qian stood outside and shouted her name so loud that a passing police officer had to tell him to keep it down. He thought of another way and kept tossing his helmet high into the air to get her attention. Lin Wan looked down, saw him, and ran downstairs, but pretended she was just going for a jog. Pei Qian immediately chased her on his e-bike, but after a short distance, the battery died. He had to keep following her on foot. After a long way, when he was too tired to run anymore, Lin Wan finally stopped. Pei Qian sincerely apologized and hoped she would help him rebuild Tungda. Hearing that, Lin Wan finally agreed. Li Shi was sitting and drinking Yakult when he saw the official launch of Mountain Sea Gods 2.0. He couldn't help but admire how Pei Qian could turn heaven into hell and then pull everything back from hell with just one thought. When the old employees returned to Tungda one by one, everyone was so excited they felt years younger. Seeing Li Shi there too, Ma Yang laughed. Li Shi honestly said that even though they used to bicker, he truly felt they were a sincere group of friends. Hearing that, Ma Yang also acknowledged Li Shi as a good brother. When everyone had gathered, Pei Qian and assistant Xian walked in. He bowed and apologized for his big mistake and thanked everyone for coming back. Pei Qian hoped everyone could help him revive Tungda, to enter the dungeon once more and beat the game. Without needing many words, everyone stood up together, walked over to him, and did a high five, promising to build an unbeatable Tungda. This time, the gears of work started turning again, but there was one difference. Pei Qian no longer hoped for the company to lose money. Instead, he hoped for success, so Tungda could be a home for everyone. The Lazy Net Cafe reopened, and as soon as people heard Chen Lei was there, customers crowded in to sign up for performances. Zhang Yuan was beyond happy to see the shop revived. The shared phone booths were back in service and attracted huge crowds for check-ins. Sloth Fitness opened its doors and quickly gained many supporters. The film project run by director Zhuang and Zibo continued. The Bare Walls apartments welcomed tenants again. Mingyan Manor became busy, with guests coming and going, making Chef Wensuan very happy. A few days later, Sima Sr. unexpectedly showed up at Tingda. He didn't say much, just quietly walked from room to room, watching each department work. The employees saw the unfamiliar face and whispered, some thinking he was there to apply for a job, and others thinking he was there to teach martial arts. Assistant Xian just quietly told Ma Yang that he was a friend of Boss Pei and not to worry about it. When he saw Pei Qian, Sima Sr. calmly remarked that the office didn't look bad. Pei Qian smiled and asked directly. Sima had always said there was an important plan, and it turned out that plan was Pei Qian himself. Sima Sr. looked satisfied because Pei Qian's reactions were always faster than others. Pei Qian said bluntly that the old man's illness had actually been cured long ago. He was just intentionally watching and waiting for Pei Qian to put out the fire his sons had started. Sima Sr. didn't deny it, only saying his sons weren't ordinary either, but they wouldn't come back to cause trouble anymore. Hearing that, Pei Qian understood that in the old man's eyes, everyone was just a chess piece. Sima Sr. then suggested changing their agreement. From now on, as long as Tengda made a profit, Pei Qian would be the direct beneficiary, while he would stay in the background to provide support. Pei Qian realized the old man wanted to move him from a small chessboard to a bigger one, but still under his control. Sima Sr. praised him for improving, and then left. Elsewhere, Zibo's first movie finally finished filming. After working together for a long time, Bai Jiao and Shihua finally added each other on social media. Thanks to that, directors Zhuang and Zibo gained even more creative inspiration back in their hometown. When his parents found out Pei Qian had installed an elevator for the neighborhood, they immediately called to ask how he convinced Uncle Ge. He told them that Uncle Ge's son-in-law wanted to take orders in the city, so he helped set it up. Then he apologized for still not being able to buy a house at Mingri Gardens. His parents gently said it was okay and not to pressure himself. Being safe and together as a family was the best thing. Hearing those words, Pei Qian was deeply moved. The next day, Pei Qian went to Sima Sr.'s house. As soon as the old man saw him, he admitted the old partnership terms were indeed too harsh. From now on, he just needed to lead everyone to do good work at Tengda, and didn't have to worry about losing money anymore. Pei Qian said calmly, the path you laid out isn't the path I want to take. The next move on the board must be decided by me. My condition is that Tengda must be completely independent from you. That's the only way the company won't lose its soul or become another Jinghong. Hearing that, Sima Min's face changed a little. Leaving the room, Pei Qian passed a balcony and saw water spraying down, soaking people on the street. He quietly tightened the tap and walked away, leaving Sima Min in silence. Downstairs, he asked Assistant Xian to tell the whole staff that he was taking a long break. Watching him walk away with his head held high, Assistant Xian smiled. Maybe Pei Qian was a new light for a way of working that truly respects people. Because Tengda's biggest wealth was never money, it was the real people working there. Right after that, Jinxian Financial News announced, founder Sima Min is stepping down from all management roles at Jinghong due to health issues, handing power to his 4 sons. While the group's performance has been dropping lately, his vision in investing in Tengda turned out to be a brilliant move. On that same day, Tengda officially began operating independently under its new chairman, Pei Qian. The employees owned 49% of the shares, while he kept 51%. The company grew even faster, and the main office moved to a fancy new building. Lin won many awards as a top game creator, and all the staff were busy with their work. Everything ran smoothly under the leadership of the people who had been through all the ups and downs with Tengda. That evening, seeing Pei Qian standing alone on the balcony, Lin Wan's group walked up and teased him, saying his vacation had lasted way too long. He just smiled. Ma Yang came closer and started talking about the old days. He remembered that rundown room from years ago, where Pei Qian dragged him out to start the business, and even told him to be a security guard. Ma Yang asked curiously if Pei Qian ever thought Tengda would make it this far back then. Pei Qian laughed and whispered something in Ma Yang's ear that made him laugh out loud. The rest of the group was left behind, totally curious about what they were talking about. Soon, everyone crowded onto the balcony, joking and laughing together. Maybe this was the perfect ending for Pei Qian. He got the wealth he once wanted without losing who he was, and his teammates were still happy doing what they loved. The next day, Pei Qian went back to the old building where Tengda was born. He slowly walked through every corner and hallway, which were full of memories. Even though the rent was sky high now, he decided to keep the place instead of renting it out, using it as a place to keep his memories safe. In the most important spot, he placed a photo from the company's grand opening day. Then, Pei Qian logged into Endpoint Web Novels and wrote down his entire experience into a book called Losing Money to Become a Billionaire, using the platform to share his story with everyone. The movie ends here. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel for more great movies. Thanks to everyone.